Oh my lordy, hello. Hello. What's up, y'all? What's up? Let's just keep pretending like I definitely don't wait till the last minute to put these in, okay? Okay. I'm looking here. Need to switch my camera over. Um, sorry. So we are celebrating a very special birthday today. It is the birthday of the Bop. That would be my 3-pound fierce as all get out teacup Yorkie. She is the leader of our pack because she is so frightening. And yes, she went to double digits today. So now I have 3 dogs. Well, 2 of them are 10 and 1 of them is 14. So that's so much fun. And I brought her in here so that I could put on her special birthday outfit. And it's like she knew that something was up because she ran out of here as fast as humanly possible. So this is what she was going to wear, which is actually quite heavy. Heavy is the crown. Isn't that what they say? So I shall demonstrate it for you guys. Just, imagine I was a teacup Yorkie. And then it has a cute little, hold on, I have lotion in my hands. I'm trying to do way too much at once. Has a really cute little skirt, which I really don't know how I will wear this for y'all, like demonstrate it. But this is already out of control. We're out of control. But if we get any donations, if we get any jewels, super chats, gifted memberships, my butt will go grab her off my bed and bring her down here because she's just being a little shy. We always do the same thing for all of our pets' birthdays. They get one between the 4 of them, including the cat. They get a Wendy's hamburger meal and they get a Frosty. And they absolutely love it. And they know it when they see the bag. They're like, oh shit, it's someone's birthday. We're gonna have a hamburger. Which I don't blame them because I'm also the same way when I get a hamburger. You know? Also, it was a short court day in the most ridiculous court I've ever seen in my life. Well, maybe not my life, but I mean, if you haven't been watching this trial with this dude in Georgia, it is just uncomfortable. So last night he couldn't pronounce like the word penile, and so he just started saying penis cells, penis and vagina cells. That actually happened. So we are there, and I have another exciting thing that I will be showing today. Once we finish court, or what I deem watchworthy of court, we will move over to the Charlie Adelson case, because if you may or may not know, he has had his lawyers fight for an appeal this last week. So that can take months to hear an appeal, like decision from the judges, but it's out there, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie the cat could be on the road again. And figured I'd leave it up to you guys to watch the trial, and let's go through it. Let's see, did he do this? Did he do this? All right. If you are here for the first time, hello, my name is Lacey Jane. This is Criminally Confident, and I think I am wearing my username very well. I am not confident in my criminality. I am too confident for my own good, hence the name Criminally Confident. I am wearing a tiara and a skirt for a teacup Yorkie. I do this every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I have one of the best mods in the game. Maybe not if she's here. Make sure to thank her for time that she spends helping me out, and all the other mods. They are excellent as well. I would love to see you in the chat. It helps the algorithm. If you press the little heart thing in the chat box, that helps the algorithm. All the things. Making sure that you like the stream. That's a mega bonus. That's huge. It's huge. And of course, would love to have you subscribed so that we can do this more often. You know what I'm saying? Maybe said hello, maybe. All right. So after last night's very uncomfortable Daubert hearing in Georgia, let's go ahead and get court started. Court is in session, ladies and gentlemen.
As much as we can. On Monday, we'll go back to kind of a regular schedule, and we'll have a regular lunch hour. Y'all can leave and stretch your legs and get some fresh air and things of that nature. And so I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. All right, we're going to get started. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready.
Ready.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may call your next
Can
witness.
you hear that?
Marissa
Because I can't
Lacan.
hear
Could you
anything.
get Marissa Lacan, please?
That's why. Never mind. We're just gonna edit that part. Coco, you want to wear fancy skirt? Okay, I let you in, but you probably kill me, don't you? So this is the girl from the Daubert hearing last night.
Ma'am, if you could raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm your testimony in the matter pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay.
So help you God.
I do.
She went to
Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
here we go.
Marissa Lacan, and it's spelled Marissa. Last name is Licon.
Ma'am, how are you employed?
I'm employed at Pure Gold Forensics
How
Pure
long have
Gold.
you been employed at Pure Gold Forensics?
since May of 2022, so approximately 3.5 years.
And tell us a little bit about Pure Gold Forensics. What is it?
We're a private accredited forensic DNA testing lab located in Southern California.
What kind of testing does Pure Gold do? Generally speaking.
So we do serology as well as DNA testing for prosecution, defense, as well as private parties.
What is your position at Pure Gold Forensics?
I'm a forensic scientist.
Can you please explain what your job entails?
So it involves serology testing as well as DNA testing using global filer as well as Y-filer amplification kits. I analyze mixtures using StarMix probabilistic genotyping software, interpret the data, and producing a scientific report based on the data.
Can you talk a little bit about your educational background?
I have a bachelor's of science degree in forensic chemistry with a concentration in criminalistics.
And other than
From
the education that
California
you received in
Baptist
obtaining that
University.
degree, is there any other training or experience that you have that has assisted you in your work as a forensic scientist?
Yes, so upon being hired at the lab, I underwent their training program. So it was approximately 1.5 years total. I was first trained in serology, which is the identification of body fluids. I underwent an observation period in which I watched another analyst perform the testing, a practical period in which I performed the testing on mock samples. I completed a oral as well as a written exam, and then completed and passed a competency test. I was observed on 3 cases before I was signed off to do independent casework in August of 2022. Subsequently, I was trained in DNA analysis, in which I also underwent an observation period, a practical period, where I performed testing on mock samples using different extraction methods.
Hi, Nicole.
I completed my own sensitivity as well as mixture studies. I completed and passed 2 competency tests, as well as 2 moot courts, and completed an external 4-day StarMix training.
And ma'am, are you a member of any professional organizations?
Truer words have
Yes, I'm
never
an
been
affiliate
said.
member of California Association of Criminalists, as well as a professional affiliate member of American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
And ma'am, outside of this case, prior to coming to Athens, have you ever testified as an expert in court before?
Once
And where was that?
in Colorado,
And what was the nature of that testimony?
DNA testing.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask that Ms. Lacan be permitted to testify as an expert in forensic chemistry and forensic biology.
How is
Any
she
objection
not
from the defense?
attacking me right now?
Based on the court's prior ruling.
This witness is declared an expert in the areas of forensic chemistry and forensic biology. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, back in 2024, was Pure Gold Forensics asked to perform certain serology testing on 2 items of evidence submitted from the GBI crime lab?
Yes.
What items did you receive from the GBI?
We received 2 items, which were apparent cuttings of swabs.
Yes.
How were those items submitted to your lab?
We received them via FedEx.
FedEx. Coco, do you want to wear the crown? Please don't bite me. Please don't bite me. Please don't bite me. Shh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This is happening. Coco, look up here.
Okay.
Oh, you're so beautiful, kitten.
So I'm going to hand you an item that's been labeled, I believe, state 141. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, if the cat lets me do it, Bitsy will
It's
definitely
the
let
envelope
me
we
do
received.
it.
And how do you recognize that envelope, ma'am?
This is the envelope I opened and tested the items inside.
And does your initials appear on that item?
Yes.
In what condition was States 141 when you received it at Pure Gold Forensics? Was it sealed? Let me ask.
Yes, it was sealed.
I'd move to tender States 141, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Cruz?
Okay,
It is admitted.
Ms. Lacan, inside States
this
141.
is actually very
Are there
boring.
Warning and the slides and cassettes that we've all gone over. Did you have an opportunity to prepare a report that summarized those findings?
Yes.
May.
All right, this has been marked States 133. Is that just a copy of the report that you generated in connection with this case?
Yes.
I move to tender States 133.
Any objection?
Hearsay.
Any response to the objection of hearsay?
No, Your Honor.
It is overruled and admitted with no objection.
Ma'am, those are all the questions that I have for you. The defense counsel may have some questions.
Mr. Cruz?
Okay,
Yes, go ahead, sir. All right, cross-examination, Mr. Cruz.
Ms. Lacan, good morning. My name is Attorney Amai Cruz. I have the privilege and honor of representing Mr. Edrick Faust. We previously had opportunity to speak yesterday. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And would you tell the jury, is it true that you would agree that you're from California? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the state of Georgia brought you here from California to testify about the testing that you conducted in this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you know, other laboratories in the United States conduct RSID saliva testing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And even some laboratories in Georgia. Is that correct?
I don't know.
That's fair.
that's not her
Other labs also conduct the Lugol's iodine test. Is that correct?
Correct.
to know that.
Now I want to ask you this. You've been doing this since 2022. Is that fair?
Yes.
But you have never been asked to come into court and testify to the Lugol's iodine test. Is that right?
Correct.
And I think we agree on this. So this is your first time being asked to testify on these presumptive tests.
Correct.
How about the RSID test?
Is this my first time?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So no other state has said, hey, can you come testify about these presumptive tests to a jury?
Correct.
Isn't the RSID like, isn't that what you have in your wallet to like not allow people to scan your credit card information from your wallet? You know what I'm talking about?
And neither are confirmatory tests. I think there aren't any confirmatory tests for these 2 tests. Is that right?
Correct.
Now I want to ask you this. You were given some packages that involve swabs. Do you still have those up there with you?
I don't.
Schwabs and schmears and schwet.
I'm going to give you a pair of gloves.
Okay.
Oh my God, you guys.
Let the record reflect that I've given Ms. Lycone a pair of gloves. I've given her States Exhibit
I'm too
141.
embarrassed.
I'm also going to give her States Exhibit 142 and a pair of scissors.
Hi, thank you, Dakota. Welcome.
Ms. Lycone, can you open the two packages that you have?
I am going to object to the relevance of having this
Oh
witness open
my
that package,
God.
especially in light of what happened yesterday.
Mr. Cruz?
Sure. The state introduced those items as exhibits. I believe we expressed on the court before that it's the items that's inside that is relevant. We just want to see the items that's inside, so I can ask you some questions about that.
I'm going to take a step outside the presence of the jury, and we are going to have a restroom break. So if you'll go into the jury room, this will be a restroom break. Mr. Cruz, I'll certainly give you one as well.
Thank
Please don't discuss the case. If you'd like to do that first and come back, that'd be fine.
Thank you, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead, sir.
This is all that happened yesterday. Maybe this is all that happened yesterday. The jurors got up and they left about 47 different times. It was unbelievable. Oh no, I know that that's what they're saying that RSID is, but don't you guys know what I'm talking about? Like the wallets that protect your information from like being scanned from Uber criminals. Dakota, my afternoon it's going well. I spent an hour and a half looking for something that is not in my home that I thought I had. So that's frustrating. How was your afternoon? My tripod is slowly going down. That's why I keep pulling it up and it just keeps going down. If you notice, my head's gonna get chopped off here shortly. Okay. I must just be super chatty today. Super chatty.
Conduct the testing that she described. I apologize. I have a lifesaver in my mouth. I didn't know we were going back on the record so quickly. And I just can't see the relevance of actually having her open that. I don't see how that's going to be, make any material fact more or less.
RFID.
And then I also, again, in light of yesterday's incident with slides, it seems like a bad idea. And so legally speaking, I would couch it in form of a relevance objection.
Abilene?
Thank you. Mr.
I
Cruz.
know Abilene.
I think the state is precluded from arguing relevance because they introduced the items into evidence. As your Honorable Court is aware, I before have asked the state, before they introduced any of it, I believe I asked Mr. Yalman-Chili when he showed them to me to open the package. I believe I raised an objection with the Honorable Court. We don't know what's in the items. And I think it's even more relevant the fact that we had one incident where we opened envelopes and they were completely empty. So
Yeah.
what's in the package is relevant in this case. I'm going to ask her, are those items she tested? And I'll go down that line of questioning once she's able to identify what's in the package. As of right now, the state is just presenting packages saying, hey, take it for what it is. That isn't authentication. We want to authenticate these items and then ask the witness
What's
questions
in the
about those items.
box, y'all?
Thank you.
But I won't pass it to the jury solely.
Okay, well, let's talk about that moment. All right, hang on just a minute. Mr. Will, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Hang on just a minute. All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to overrule the objection and allow
Sure,
Mr.
Dakota.
Cruz to ask this witness to open the
Enlighten me.
package, but I'm not going to allow it to be sent to the jury. I think that incident yesterday is indicative of the danger.
Thank
of
you,
doing that.
Mitchell.
There are methods if the jury wants to look at evidence that is sensitive, particularly during deliberations, and we take it up in the courtroom. We deal with it in that manner. I'm not necessarily making a finding that this is actually relevant, but you are on cross-examination. I'll allow you to do that. All right, anything else? All right. Well, I did tell them we had a restroom break. Can you knock on the door and see if they're ready?
Okay, guys. Mitchell helped us out, came in clutch, and said that this witness and the next are essentially useless. So what I'm going to do, I already have the next video queued up that I was planning on showing today. And I am going to get that started for y'all. And then in the background, I am going to listen to the closing of today's Georgia, of the hearing we were just listening to, and see if any craziness goes down that I feel like would be beneficial for you to see. Well,
Everyone may be seated.
I love his voice. EMT and firemen, that's
Good
so
morning,
important.
ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Before we get started with the trial, I'm going to give you an instruction. that's going to explain to you how the trial is going to be conducted. Also, I'm going to give you an instruction concerning note-taking as well. Does everyone have a notepad and pen in their seats?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. And for the record, the jurors have answered in the affirmative. Once I have given those two instructions to you, the attorneys are going to present their opening statements, and the state will begin with the presentation of its case. Once again, I will be reading to you a fair amount during the trial. It's not that I don't wish to have a normal conversation with you, but rather the instruction on the law that you're to receive throughout the trial must be specific and uniform. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Charles Adelson. This is a criminal case. Charles Adelson is charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. The definition of these offenses will be explained to you later in the trial.
He had
The
a
state's
lot of
charging document,
emotions.
which is called an indictment, is not evidence and is not to be considered by you as any proof of guilt. It will be my responsibility during this trial to explain the law to you. It is your solemn responsibility to determine if the state proved its accusations beyond a reasonable doubt against Charles Adelson in accordance with the law that I will provide to you. Thus, the province of the jury and the province of the court are well defined, and they do not overlap. This is one of the fundamental principles of our system of justice. Before proceeding further, it will be helpful if you understand how a trial is conducted. At the beginning of the trial, the attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the attorneys a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence, and you are not to consider it as such. Following the opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify under oath. They will be examined and cross-examined by the attorneys. Documents and other exhibits may also be produced as evidence. After the evidence has been presented, I will give you instructions on the law. The attorneys will then have their opportunity to make their closing arguments. Following the closing arguments by the attorneys, I will conclude in giving you final instructions. After the final instructions have been given, the alternate jurors will be released, and you will then retire to consider your verdict. You should not form any definite or fixed opinion on the merits of this case until you have heard all the evidence, the argument of the lawyers, and the instruction on the law that I will provide to you. Until that time, you should not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or the lack of evidence and the law. I now instruct you not to communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, about this case. No communication includes no emailing, text messaging, tweeting, blogging, or any other form of communication. You cannot do any research about the case or look up any information that is related to the case. If you become aware of any violation of these rules at all, please notify my bailiff concerning the violation. During the course of the trial, we may have to take recesses or breaks. During these recesses or breaks, you will either be returned to the jury room or you'll be permitted to separate and go about your affairs. During these recesses or breaks,
I
you
just
must not
love
discuss
his
the case
voice.
with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about this case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, please tell him or her that you're on the jury that is trying the case and ask that person to stop. If he or she persists, leave that person at once and immediately report the matter to my bailiff, who will advise me concerning the situation. All cell phones, computers, tablets, and other types of electronic devices must be turned off while you're in the courtroom. Turned off means that the phone or other electronic device is actually off and not in a silent or vibrating mode. You may use your devices during any recesses or breaks, but even then, you may not use your cell phone or electronic device to find out any information about the case or communicate with anyone about the case or the people that are involved in the case. Do not take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings or of your fellow jurors. After each recess or break, please double check to make sure your cell phone or electronic device is turned off. At the end of the case, while you are deliberating, you must not communicate with anyone outside the jury room. You cannot have in the jury room any cell phones, computers, or other electronic devices. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, the court can receive messages and deliver them to you without delay. A contact phone number will be provided to you for this very purpose. The case must be tried by you only on the evidence that is presented during the trial in your presence and in the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and myself. Jurors must not conduct any investigation of their own. This includes reading newspapers, watching television, using a computer, cell phone, the internet, any electronic device, or any other means at all to get information related to this case or the people and places that are involved in this case. This instruction is going to apply to you whether you're in the courthouse, at home, or anywhere else. You must not visit places mentioned in the trial or use the internet to look at maps or pictures to see any place that is discussed during the trial. Jurors must not have discussions of any sort with friends or family members about the case or the people and places involved. So do not let even the closest family members make comments to you or ask questions about the trial. In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress again that just as you must not talk about this case face-to-face, you must not talk about this case by using an electronic device. You must not use phones, computers, or other electronic devices.
I just need to quickly say that I am a resident of Columbus, Ohio, hometown of Bath and Body Works. And if they would like to sponsor me, I always burn their candles in the background. So that would be awesome. So, okay, done.
To communicate. Do not send or accept any messages related to this case or your jury service. Do not discuss this case or ask for advice by any means at all, including posting information on an internet website, chat room, or blog. What are the reasons for these rules? These rules are imposed because jurors must decide the case without distraction and only on the evidence presented in the courtroom. If you investigate, research, or make inquiries on your own, I will have no way to make sure the information you have obtained is proper and relevant to this case. The parties likewise have no opportunity to dispute or challenge the accuracy of what you may find. That is contrary to our judicial system, which assures every party the right to ask questions about and challenge the evidence being considered against it, and to present argument with respect to that evidence. Any independent investigation by a juror unfairly and improperly prevents the parties from having the opportunity that our judicial system promises. Any juror who violates these restrictions jeopardizes the fairness of the proceedings, and a mistrial could result that would require the entire trial process to start over. A mistrial is a tremendous expense and inconvenience to the parties, the court, and all taxpayers. If you violate these rules, you may be held in contempt of court and face sanctions such as serving time in jail, paying a fine, or possibly both. In every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. At no time is it the duty of a defendant to prove his innocence. From the exercise of a defendant's right to remain silent, a jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt, and the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. The attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure, and it is their duty to make all objections they feel are proper. When objection is made, you should not speculate on the reason why it has been made. Likewise, when an objection is sustained or upheld by me, you must not speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been sustained, nor what a witness might have said had he or she been permitted to answer the question.
Yeah, he has a
During the trial,
five-head.
it may be necessary for me to confer with the attorneys out of your hearing to discuss matters that require my consideration alone. It is impossible to predict when such a conference
I
may
would
be
only,
required or for
I
how
only
long
know that because
conference
my
may
mom
last. When
works
such
as a
conferences occur, they will be
hairdresser.
conducted so as to consume as little of your time as is necessary for a fair and orderly trial of this case. If you would like to take notes during the trial, you may do so. On the other hand, of course, you are not required to take notes if you do not want to.
I'm like an 8-head or 8-hand.
That will be left
Finger.
up to each juror as an individual choice. You have been provided with a notepad and pen for your use if you wish to take notes. Any notes that you take will be for your use. However, you are not to take your notepads from the courtroom. During any recess or break, you are to leave your notepads in your seats, and you will have possession of them once again when we reconvene. After you have completed your deliberations in this matter, my bailiff will deliver your notepads to me. From there, they will be destroyed. No one will ever read your notes. If you choose to take notes, do not get so involved in note-taking that you become distracted from the actual proceedings. Your notes should only be used as an aid to your memory. Is the state ready to give its opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Oh, let's go, girls.
Thank y'all for being here with us today. I know that we've been introduced, but y'all haven't heard from me yet. My name is Sarah Catherine Dugan, and I'm going to be representing the state of Florida in this case, along with Georgia Kappelman. The last couple of days, we've obviously been in jury selection. Thank y'all for your patience with that. I know there's a lot of waiting involved with that. In jury selection, each side was able to kind of talk with you about your feelings and concepts, your feelings about the law and different concepts. But now it's time for opening statements, where each of us is going to kind of give you a roadmap
Keep
of what
it
we
up,
expect that the
Peggy.
evidence in this
We love
case will
it.
show. And then after opening statements, we'll start hearing from witnesses and getting into the actual evidence in this case. So let's get right to it. The reason that we're here today is because the defendant in this case, Charlie Adelson, hired a hitman to kill his former brother-in-law, Dan Markel. This murder was set into motion because back in 2014, the defendant's family, the Adelson family, had a big problem. And that big problem was Dan Markel. And the solution to that problem was this defendant. This defendant was the solution to that problem because he had a girlfriend with connections to the type of people who were willing and capable of pointing a gun at a complete stranger and pulling the trigger. The victim in this case was known as Danny to his friends and family. He was a loving father to 2 little boys. He was a highly respected professor at Florida State College of Law. And tragically, on July 18th of 2014, Dan Markel was shot twice in the head in broad daylight in the driveway of his home in the Benton Hills neighborhood here in Tallahassee. The last day of Dan Markel's life that day began like any other of his mornings that summer. He woke up, he drove his 2 little boys to preschool and dropped them off, and then he drove over to the gym to work out. After finishing his workout, he returned home. He pulled in his driveway, opened his garage, but little did he know that throughout his just normal routine that morning, he was being followed. He was being followed by 2 hired hitmen who traveled all the way from Miami to Tallahassee for the sole purpose of murdering him. And just like something out of a horror movie, he pulls into his driveway and the car that, unknown to him, pulls in right behind him. Moments later, Dan Markel's neighbor heard a gunshot. He looked out the window and he saw a light-colored Toyota Prius backing quickly out of Dan Markel's driveway and then speeding away. The neighbor waited for a couple minutes to see if maybe Dan Markel came out of his house or backed out of his driveway too. And when nothing happened, this neighbor got that funny feeling that maybe something could be wrong here. So he walked over, and what he found was a gruesome scene. He walked in the garage and saw that the driver's side window of Dan Markel's car was shattered. He saw Dan Markel was still behind the wheel. He was alive, but he was moaning, he was unresponsive, and he was terribly injured. The neighbor then goes and calls 911. Law enforcement arrives, and they find Dan Markel unresponsive with gunshot wounds to his head. He was then taken to the hospital where he survived for several hours before he was actually pronounced dead. Dan Markel was 41 years old, and his little boys that were deprived of their father that day were just 3 and 4 years old.
What's up, everybody? Make sure to hit that thumbs up
Law
button,
enforcement
please.
immediately began to investigate to figure out who shot Dan Markel. And the evidence they find sets them down 2 separate paths. One path is that they had to track down that light-colored Prius that the neighbor saw fleeing from the crime scene and identify who was inside that Prius. And the other path relates to Dan Markel's personal life.
Who here
They looked
has
to
a
see
Prius?
Who, if anybody, in Dan Markel's personal life would hate Dan Markel enough to kill him. And after years of tireless investigation by law enforcement, both of these 2 paths led directly to this defendant. So let's talk about the path involving Dan Markel's personal life first. In looking at who might have a motive to kill Dan Markel, law enforcement learned that Markel was entangled in a very nasty divorce with his ex-wife, who is the defendant's sister. Her name is Wendy Adelson. A review of their divorce case file revealed that Wendy Adelson asked the court to allow her to move back to Miami, where she was from, with the kids, in order to be near her parents, whose names are Harvey and Donna Adelson, and her brother, the defendant. Dan Markel was adamantly opposed to his children being relocated to Miami. He was a law professor here in Tallahassee. This is where he lived. This is where his kids have been raised. He wanted his kids to live here with him. And for this custody dispute, the judge ended up ruling in Dan Markel's favor. So Wendy Adelson was not permitted to move to Miami with the children. Unless, of course, something happened to Dan Markel. A review of Wendy Adelson's emails revealed that her mother, Donna Adelson, hated Dan Markel and was desperate to find a way for Wendy and her children, who were Donna Adelson's grandchildren, to be able to move to Miami. Donna Adelson suggests in these emails that y'all will hear about several ways that Wendy Adelson could threaten or bully Dan Markel into submission, into getting what she wanted him to do. Donna Adelson even suggested offering Dan Markel a $1 million bribe to allow the relocation, and even said that this defendant, Charlie Adelson, would pay a third of that $1 million bribe to Dan Markel to make that happen. The evidence in this case will show that Donna Adelson's—
I love my nephew, don't get me wrong, but
she and the defendant talked multiple times a day, every day. He was the person with whom she would constantly vent and complain to about Wendy's situation. The defendant was also the person that Donna Adelson relied on to solve her problems. And this was a big, big problem for Donna Adelson. And she made it the defendant's problem to solve. So the divorce between Wendy Adelson and Dan Markel was final about a year before the actual murder. But that was not the end of that case. Litigation was ongoing, to say the least. Each side would continue to routinely file violations of the custody agreement, violations of the settlement agreement, and that continued right up until Dan Markel's death in July of 2014. This was a highly emotionally charged situation between them leading up to his death. However, there was no physical violence that Wendy Adelson needed to be rescued from or anything like that. But make no mistake, this was a very messy custody dispute. Shortly before the murder, in fact, Dan Markel, the victim, filed with the court and basically asked the court, he alleged that Donna Adelson was disparaging him to his children by saying bad things about him. And he asked the court to enter an order preventing Donna Adelson from having unsupervised contact with her grandchildren. This motion was still pending in court when Dan Markel was killed. The murder of Dan Markel ensured that an adverse ruling on his motion would never be a problem for the Adelsons. And just about 48 hours after the shooting, Wendy Adelson and the little boys relocated to Miami. Shortly thereafter, moved into a home within walking distance of the Adelsons' Miami home. Within a year of Dan Markel's murder, Wendy Adelson legally changed Dan Markel's son's last name from Markel to Adelson. And just like that, their father was just effectively erased from their lives at 3 and 4. And the Adelson's family, their big problem had been solved. You'll hear during this trial that the Adelsons are a very tight-knit family. The defendant and his parents, Harvey and Donna Adelson, they actually even all worked together at the Adelson Institute, which was their family's dental practice. At the Adelson Institute, the defendant and Harvey Adelson were dentists, and Donna Adelson managed the office. After Dan Markel was killed on July 18, 2014, law enforcement interviewed Wendy Adelson. And Wendy Adelson acknowledged that her family had a motive to kill Dan Markel, or to want him dead. She admitted that her brother, the defendant, had even said that he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel as a divorce present to her. But he decided to buy her a TV instead because it was cheaper. And coincidentally, or not, that TV that this defendant bought his sister as a divorce gift instead of hiring a hitman would be Wendy Adelson's alibi for the morning of the murder when the victim was killed by a hitman. So this path of looking into Dan Markel's life to see who would have a motive to want him dead leads law enforcement to the Adelsons, including this defendant, a man who told his family that he'd looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel. The defense asked yesterday in jury selection, who's talked trash or heard somebody talk trash about an in-law, which is not a rare concept. A lot of people don't like their in-laws. But the difference here is that the defendant's comment stopped being just a little bit of trash talk when Dan Markel was actually killed by a hitman. While the police are trying to investigate, who in Dan Markel's personal life may have a motive to kill him, they're simultaneously going down that second path I described to y'all, which was tracking down the vehicle that the neighbor saw fleeing the crime scene. When law enforcement retraced Dan Markel's steps the morning of the murder, they uncovered some chilling surveillance video of a Prius fitting the description of the one seen by the neighbor, following Dan Markel into the Premier Gym parking lot, waiting for an hour while he was inside, and then following him home from Premier Gym back to his neighborhood. They got these surveillance images from city buses, from Premier, from everywhere they possibly could. And these surveillance images, coupled with a massive amount of phone data and SunPass records gathered in this case, helped police to eventually track down the exact car used in this crime. But police still had to figure out who was in the Prius and why did they kill Dan Markel. As part of this really painstaking review that law enforcement did of all of these records, and when I say painstaking, finding this Prius and finding all of this evidence and all of these records was not an easy task. And it took longer than your average investigation. It was very difficult to do. They combed through tons of phone records and even did what's called a tower dump, which is where law enforcement collected a list of all of the cell phone numbers that communicated with the cell tower that serviced different spots in Tallahassee that Dan Markel was at that morning.
How's that different than geofencing?
When the suspect's Prius were there. Because they thought if the person in the Prius was using their phone at the time, then their number will be somewhere in this tower dump. They combed through all of that data and they found a number with a Miami area code belonging to a man named Sigfredo Garcia. Law enforcement examined all of Garcia's call logs and saw that he was in frequent contact with another number that was also present at Premier Gym that morning. And that number belonged to a man named Luis Rivera. Luis Rivera is a lifelong friend of Sigfredo Garcia and is also from Miami. Police then looked at all of Garcia and Rivera's phone records, which showed that their phones left Miami about 2 days before this murder on July 16th of 2014. The phones came to Tallahassee, and on the day of the murder, July 18th, they followed Markel to Premier Gym. The phone data is consistent with both men turning off their phones just minutes before the murder and leaving their phones off until about an hour or so after the murder when they're well on their way back towards Miami. And then a bank's ATM camera caught both Garcia and Rivera in that light-colored Prius once they arrived back in the Miami area when they stopped at an ATM. So,
yeah, they really stuck it to him.
Police figured out the identity, and this should appear on the screens in front of you, the identity of the two men responsible for following and killing Dan Markel. Luis Rivera, his nickname is Tato, and Sigfredo Garcia, his nickname is Tudo.
I thought it was
But
Toto.
they continued to look for evidence of why two seemingly random men came all the way to Tallahassee to kill a man, Dan Markel, that they'd never met. What or who is the connection between these killers and the victim? Well, phone records reveal that one of Sigfredo Garcia's most frequent contacts was a woman named Catherine Magnanuel. Her nickname is Katie. Garcia and Catherine McBanois have a long history of an on-again, off-again relationship over the course of many years, and they actually share 2 kids in common. And lo and behold, when looking at the phone records, Catherine McBanois is also one of the most frequent contacts of this defendant, Charlie Adelson. Law enforcement learned that at the time of Dan Markel's murder, this defendant was dating Catherine McBanois. She was his girlfriend at the time. So Dan Markel was a problem that this defendant needed to solve for his family. The defendant was looking to hire a hitman to kill Dan Markel. Dan Markel ends up being killed by a hitman. And who ended up being the hitman? It was someone with a close relationship to this defendant's girlfriend. The hitman was the father of his girlfriend's children. So you can see how both leads in this case, followed by investigators, both of them charted paths to this defendant. Not only did looking into the motive lead law enforcement to the defendant because he wanted to hire someone to kill Dan Markel, but looking into the car, fleeing the scene, also led law enforcement to the defendant through his girlfriend at the time. So 2 different investigations arriving at the same conclusion.
We need you guys to hit the like button, please. We only have 3 likes. Come on. Help your friend out.
Law enforcement also tried to follow the money in this case. And that was a third way that the evidence in this case points to this defendant. Law enforcement reviewed bank records, employment records, DHS&V records of all of the suspects and saw that in the months after the homicide, Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera, and Catherine McBanois all acquired some big ticket items. Rivera and Garcia both bought motorcycles and cars. Catherine McBanois got a breast augmentation surgery and later received a black Lexus sedan whose previous owner was Harvey Adelson. Catherine McBanois's bank records were analyzed, and there was no check ever written or matching cash withdrawal for the car or the breast augmentation, which was paid for in cash. Bank records also showed that Catherine McBanois's account had a huge spike in cash deposits right around the time of the murder. She deposited more money into her account in the 5 weeks following the murder than in the entire previous year before the murder. This was during a time when there was no record of her being employed anywhere. Also, about 2 months after the murder, the defendant added Catherine McBanois to the payroll at the Adelson Institute. And she began receiving regular checks from their business account every 2 weeks for 2 years after the murder. And this was despite the fact that she did not work at the Adelson Institute. So the money was talking, but what were the suspects saying? That's what law enforcement wanted to know. So as they're examining the phone records in this case, they see a distinct pattern surrounding important events and dates in this case. The phone calls, and they can't see the content, they can't hear the content of these calls in these phone records, but they see that the calls are occurring. And the phone calls always went from Donna Adelson to the defendant, then from the defendant to Catherine McBanois, then from Catherine McBanois to Sigfredo Garcia, and back the other way. Kind of like train cars, they only touch the car right in front of them. You know, Donna Adelson never calls Catherine McBanois or Sigfredo Garcia. Charlie Adelson never calls Sigfredo Garcia or vice versa. So if this is a murder for hire, as law enforcement suspects, could it be that the defendant was wisely insulating himself from the actual shooters by having Catherine McBanois act as a middleman between them? Law enforcement decided to launch an undercover investigation designed to clarify who the members of the conspiracy were and how information traveled within this conspiracy. So police applied for and received court authorization to listen in real time to the phone calls of the defendant and Catherine McBanois. And this is what's known as a wiretap. By this point, the point that the law enforcement received authorization to do this wiretap, it was April of 2016. So it's been not quite, but almost 2 years since the murder of Dan Markel, which occurred in July of 2014. So by April of 2016, the defendant and Catherine McBanois are no longer dating at that point. They've been broken up since the fall of 2014. Catherine McBanois is actually back together with Sigfredo Garcia, the father of her children, at that point. The defendant has moved on to many other girlfriends since Catherine McBanois, but the defendant and Catherine McBanois are still in regular communication and have remained very close friends since the murder. And Rivera, who was the second hitman in that Prius, he, in April of 2016, was actually in federal prison doing time on another charge unrelated to this murder. So all of the members of this conspiracy have presumably gone on with their lives, believing they've gotten away with this murder. So even though law enforcement has authority to listen to their calls now, what reason would these people have to still be discussing the murder at this point? So police needed to stage an event that would generate conversation between the conspirators about the murder. And the plan was to send an undercover agent posing as somebody on behalf of Luis Rivera, who was incarcerated, to walk up to Donna Adelson on the street and try to extort money out of her. And law enforcement refers to this as the bump. So this undercover agent walks up to Donna Adelson one day as she's leaving the Adelson Institute during the day. The undercover agent hands Donna Adelson a piece of paper. And on the piece of paper is an article about the murder of Dan Markel with his picture on it and, FSU professor killed. Also on the piece of paper are a phone number and the amount of $5,000. The undercover agent tells Donna Adelson that he knows that the Adelsons are taking care of Katie, and he's there to extort money out of her on Rivera's behalf in order to even things out. The undercover agent never says the defendant's name or anything about the defendant's involvement to Donna Adelson. Then law enforcement listens to see what will happen next. Will Donna Adelson go straight to the police to report this extortion attempt, or will something else entirely happen? As suspected, based on the previously observed communication pattern, the first person that Donna Adelson calls after the bump is the defendant, despite the fact that the undercover agent never mentioned the defendant to her. On that first call, one would think that Donna Adelson would say to her son, it's so crazy. Some man came up to me and he's handed me this article about Danny's murder, and he's seems like he's demanding money from us. She never says any of that. In fact, she never says Dan Markel's name at all. Instead, she tells the defendant that she needs to talk to him in person, not over the phone, about some paperwork that was hand-delivered to her. She said that this paperwork, she says this to the defendant, it involves the two of us, and that he should know what she's talking about. She says that he should bring cash to their meeting. And she also says that this TV is about $5,000. Donna Adelson tells the defendant that the man who approached her mentioned an ex-girlfriend. Donna Adelson never says which ex-girlfriend she's referring to. She never says Catherine McManois or Katie's name to the defendant in that phone call. She only says that the blackmailer mentioned an ex-girlfriend. The defendant never asked his mom, whose ex-girlfriend? My ex-girlfriend? Which ex-girlfriend? He never asked that. Because as the evidence will show, he didn't need to. He knew that this TV is about $5,000 meant that she was being blackmailed about Danny's murder for $5,000. And he knew that the ex-girlfriend in question was Catherine McManois. And we know that because after this call with his mother, who's the defendant? The defendant calls Catherine McManois.
Of course.
He doesn't call his most recent ex-girlfriend. He doesn't even call the most recent ex-girlfriend before the most recent ex-girlfriend, the one before that. No, he calls Catherine McManois. And his call to Catherine McManois is the only call that he makes to any ex-girlfriend after getting the information from his mother that the blackmailer mentioned an ex-girlfriend. And he had not dated Catherine McManois for 1.5 years at that point. And although the defendant threatens to do it often, neither he nor his mom ever report the matter to the police. The only people that he discusses it with in these calls is Donna Adelson and Catherine McManois. And you'll hear these phone calls between the conspirators. And as you listen to these calls, y'all will notice that they are being cautious about what they say over the phone. It's very apparent that they are very careful with their words because they are immediately suspicious that law enforcement could be listening to their conversations.
Smart on their behalf.
So Donna Adelson calls the defendant, and the defendant's first call is to Catherine McManois. After that, the defendant then meets up with his mom in person, like his mom requested. And his mom gives him this paperwork that the undercover agent gave her. Then next, the defendant and Catherine McManois meet up in person. And they meet up at a restaurant in Miami called Dolce Vita. And while they sat at their table in this, Dolce Vita is a busy, noisy restaurant, an undercover FBI agent sat at a table nearby with a hidden camera in their bag and recorded this conversation. And in the recording, we hear the defendant discussing whether the man who walked up to his mom could be an undercover police officer or someone who's trying to blackmail them. And if it's the latter, if it's a blackmailer, is it somebody who's just trying to make a quick buck? Or is it somebody who actually knows information from the inside? The defendant reassures Catherine McManois that if it is the police, that's a good thing. The defendant thinks that if it's the police, that means that they do not have enough evidence to charge anybody. In fact, the defendant tells her if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. The defendant starts giving her some legal advice. He says that, hey, in order to prove that someone committed a crime, you have to be able to put the person at the scene of the crime at the time it was committed, which unfortunately for them is not an accurate statement of the law. It's important to note, too, at the time of this conversation at Dolce Vita, no arrests had been made. The only thing that police had released to the public was a photo of the Prius that fled the scene. This was the Prius that Garcia and Rivera rented and used the day of Dan Markel's murder. So police knew at that point that it was Garcia and Rivera who were in the Prius, but the public did not know that yet, and no arrests had been made because they wanted to do this undercover investigation. And so the fact that this photo of this Prius had been released to the public is interesting in light of some of the things that y'all will hear the defendant say to Catherine McVanois in the Dolce Vita recording. He starts giving Catherine McVanois several analogies, all involving rental cars used to commit crimes. He reassures her that, hey, if DNA is found in a car, all that means is that at one point the person sat in the car. And if that car was later used in a crime, police can't prove that just from a person's DNA being in the car. The defendant points out to her that if a rental car is found that was at a crime scene, police also have to prove who was driving it at the time. He gives her a very relevant hypothetical of her renting a car in Miami and someone asking to borrow it and driving to Orlando to commit a robbery, and how she would be innocent in that hypothetical because she wasn't in the car at the time of the robbery. So through these analogies, the defendant is reassuring Catherine McVanois that even if police identify who rented the car that fled the scene, they still would not have enough evidence to hold anybody responsible for the murder, even if they did find out it was Garcia and Rivera. The defendant also says that crimes are tough to prove unless someone actually witnessed the suspect commit a crime, or a suspect makes a confession, or a suspect is caught on a wire talking about the crime. So the defendant's trying to reassure her about the lack of evidence. And hey, as long as we all stay quiet, then we don't have anything to worry about. At one point, the defendant asked her, let me ask you a question. And then he asked her about money. He says, when everybody was there the next day, did you take any money? Like, are any of you driving around in a Bentley? Or no, it's not like any of you are driving around in a Bentley or cruising around in a mega yacht. So here the defendant's pointing out that the money wasn't used to buy anything flashy that would draw the attention of the police. And when discussing, and you all will hear during the course of this trial why his statement or his question about the money from the next day is particularly important. The evidence will show that Catherine McVanois went to the defendant's home the night of the murder, where he paid her in cash. And the next day, Catherine McVanois paid Garcia and Rivera their cuts of the money. When discussing the possibility of whether this is actually some gangster trying to blackmail his family for money, the defendant says that whoever this person is, whoever it is, knows information. The defendant told Catherine McVanois that there are two ways of dealing with this guy. They could call the police, but then the guy blackmailing them would be charged with trying to blackmail his family. And the blackmailer would start talking, and he would start calling out Catherine McVanois' name. And then police are going to be asking questions about what happened. The other option is to pay the blackmailer, but let him know that this is a one-time thing, and try to scare the blackmailer off by saying, hey, if you come around again, we're going to the police. So the defendant then gives Catherine McVanois very precise instructions. He wants her to call the blackmailer and tell him that, this would be what he wants Catherine McVanois to say. My friends, meaning the Adelson family, have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't have any idea what you're talking about either. But the name of the person who you said is incarcerated sounds familiar. So I'm going to give you this money as charity to help the less fortunate. But don't contact these people again, or they're going to go to the police. And the defendant said he would give Catherine McVanois the $5,000 to pay off the blackmailer, except he's concerned, though, that this won't resolve the issue for good. The defendant is worried that this guy is not going to go away, that he's going to keep coming back for more and more money. And the defendant offers a solution to have this blackmailer killed. And he says he's willing to pay whatever it takes. The defendant tells her that, this is the defendant talking to Catherine McVanois, this guy, meaning the blackmailer, is effing with him and his wife. And you'd better kill him or he's going to be a big problem because he knows who you are. And the defendant then says, if he can't handle this, I'll have somebody else do it. The defendant says, so help me God, if they fuck with my family, it's going to be Nazi shit because this will be done. I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend. It's important to note during this conversation and the entire wiretap, the defendant never says Sigfredo Garcia's name. But the evidence will show that the defendant was talking about Sigfredo Garcia when the defendant says that the blackmailer was effing with him and his wife. And if he can't do it, I'll find someone else who will. Because immediately after that, the defendant checks with Catherine McVanois to make sure that Garcia has no hard feelings towards him, no reason not to help him. He says, hey, I have you on salary. You think he'd be happy about that? And he also says, our paths never crossed, meaning, hey, Garcia wasn't in the picture when he and Catherine McVanois were together. There wasn't any overlap. After hearing that the defendant wants someone killed and is willing to pay whatever it takes to get it done, Catherine McVanois then asks the defendant to help her out. And the defendant reassures her that she'll be taken care of by saying, he says, I don't have to. Sometimes those chairs can be a little wobbly. I know this is taking a bit, but I'm almost done. Thank y'all for being patient. All right, so she asked him to help her out, and the defendant reassures her that she'll be taken care of. He says he doesn't have to tell her the things that he'll do for her. He shows her what he'll do for her. She doesn't have to ask him for anything. He looks for things to do. He says, hey, when someone's birthday's coming up or there's car problems, she doesn't have to ask. He looks for ways to help. And after his meeting with Catherine McManua, the defendant immediately calls Donna Adelson to let her know that everything's fine. And he does this using some pretty obvious code words, which y'all will hear, and you'll hear the conspirators often use words to mask the meaning of what they're actually talking about. Catherine McManua then, also using these code words, tasked Garcia with calling the number on the paperwork and finding out if the blackmailer is a legitimate associate of Rivera or not. And in the series of recorded calls that follow, you guys are going to hear these conspirators talking and using words like TV, false leads, listings, properties, clients, rap songs, CDs, potbelly pigs, relationship advice, all these different terms that are normal terms any of us may use, but they're used in context in these calls that if you're listening to the conversation, do not make any sense. For example, in the calls, the defendant and Catherine McManua don't outright debate the pros and cons of whether they should pay this blackmailer. Instead, they talk about the fact that this property is cheap. They might expect a property like this to even be $1 million. This property seems like a great deal, but if you get the wrong tenant in there, the tenant may keep increasing the rent, and that tenant may become a leash that never leaves you. So it will be up to y'all to decide whether this defendant is actually worried about a future tenant of a property that might raise the rent and pay him more money, or if the defendant is actually worried that if he pays off the blackmailer, then the blackmailer may continue to come back again and again, or send a cousin or a friend to become a leech that never leaves him, that he can't get rid of. In another of these calls, the defendant tells Catherine McManua that whoever this person is, this blackmailer is, he's got a lot of effing details. And in another, they discuss the fact that this blackmailer is not from the inside. And the defendant says that this guy is probably not from the first layer, but the second layer. So not someone who got info from Garcia, but maybe somebody who got info from Rivera. But one fact, and let me just say, as the jury, you all will interpret and decide what they're really talking about in these calls. Only y'all can determine the meaning and the weight to give this evidence, and only you can separate just mere coincidences from evidence in a conspiracy. But one fact, though, is really clear throughout these calls, is that all of these conspirators are hopeful that this blackmailer is law enforcement just trying to get information, because they think if it's law enforcement, then the police don't have enough to bring charges, just fishing for information, versus the other possibility, which would obviously be much worse for them, that the Adelsons are being blackmailed by somebody who actually knows inside information about their roles in Dan Markel's murder and may tell the police what they know. So after this undercover operation, which was in 2016, Luis Rivera, Sigfredo Garcia, and Catherine McManua are arrested. They're charged with the same charges before y'all in this trial. And Luis Rivera ended up cutting a deal with the state to tell law enforcement the truth about the murder of Dan Markel and the people responsible. Rivera told law enforcement that he was hired by Sigfredo Garcia to help kill Dan Markel. And Rivera described how Garcia told him that Catherine McManua, the mother of Garcia's children, secured this job for them. And the job was in Tallahassee, and it paid $100,000, with Rivera's being about a third of it, $35,000. Rivera explained that he and Garcia actually made 2 trips to Tallahassee with the intent of killing Dan Markel. The first one was a month before the murder. It was in June of 2014. And the second was when Dan Markel was actually killed in July of 2014. Rivera said that he bought a gun off the street for that second trip, and Garcia rented a car. For the June trip. Rivera bought a gun off the street, and Garcia rented a car for that trip. Garcia and Rivera did some scouting on that trip of Dan Markel's residence, some surveillance, but ultimately couldn't get the job done. They ended heading back to Miami. During the trip to Tallahassee, he said that Garcia had a piece of paper with a picture of the man that they were supposed to kill on it, and some handwritten notes as well. Cell phone records corroborated Rivera's information about the June trip. Rivera also told a story about an incident in Tallahassee where he and Garcia were riding down the road in the rented Prius, and Garcia accidentally discharged the murder weapon, and the bullet struck the floorboard of the Prius. Law enforcement tracked down that actual Prius again and were able to see evidence in the undercarriage that corroborated Rivera's information about the accidental discharge. So they're looking at the phone evidence, they're trying to find whatever they can to kind of corroborate what he's telling them. I mentioned earlier that both men, Garcia and Rivera, cut their phones off from the time that they left Premier and kept them off until well after the murder when they're on their way back home. Rivera said that the first call that either of them made after the homicide was from Garcia to McManua, where Garcia told her that the job was done. and Magbanua assured them that they would get their money the next day, which they did. Rivera says when Catherine Magbanua brought cash to him at his home. And all this information that Luis Rivera provided them was corroborated by, including when the money was dropped off, was corroborated by cell phone records in this case. Well, Luis Rivera told police that the next day after the murder, he was paid in cash by Catherine Magbanua, and that the money was packaged in a very unusual way. The money was in stacks of $100 bills, and the money was stapled together. The stacks of 100s, every $1,000 was stapled together.
That's so weird to
During
me.
this
I would
trial,
never
we
do
hear
that.
The defendant had access to a lot of cash, and nothing's wrong with that. He had a lot of cash because his family gives cash discounts at their dental practice, and he keeps
That's
the
smart.
cash that he receives in a safe. Again, nothing wrong about that either. However,
Not at all.
what is relevant in this case is that the defendant had a very unusual practice of keeping the cash in his safe in $1,000 stacks of $100 bills that were stapled together, just like the money Luis Rivera received. Over the last few years, since the 2016 arrest and interview of Luis Rivera, law enforcement has not stopped working on this case. There were trials in 2019 and 2022, so right before the pandemic and right after the pandemic, of co-conspirators. Law enforcement also continued to try to gather all the evidence that they possibly could. They continued to interview people who may possibly have any information about the case. They tried to clarify any audio recordings that couldn't be clearly heard. While the phone wiretaps are very clear, the wiretap conversations that took place in public places when these people were meeting in person were not clearly audible back in 2016. Some still aren't, but because these public places are often too noisy. For instance, the recording of the conversation between the defendant and Catherine Magbanua and Dolce Vita had too much background noise to be able to clearly hear what the conspirators were talking about. However, since 2016, as technology developed over the years, and thanks to law enforcement's just continued dedication, law enforcement eventually found an expert that was formerly employed by the CIA with improved technology and enough expertise to clarify this recording at Dolce Vita that y'all will hear. And he did that by being able to reduce as much background noise as possible. And once this recording was clarified, which was actually just early last year in 2022, the state arrested this defendant. The presentation of this evidence, as y'all can see from opening, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's going to take a little bit of time, and it may be tedious at times. And I want to thank y'all in advance for the careful attention to all of the evidence y'all see in here during this trial. When you'll see that this defendant carried out his plan to hire a hitman to kill Dan Markel. He conspired and he solicited Catherine Magbanua to get this murder done, and he paid her for the job once it was completed. This defendant acted in furtherance of this murder plot that went beyond just thinking about it or talking about it.
I'm going to grab
And these
Bitsy
acts make him
before.
guilty as a principal to first-degree murder, just as if he pulled the trigger himself. While the defendant's choices helped solve a problem within his family, they came at a very high price. He took the life of a loving father of 2 little boys, and he caused a lifetime of grief for Dan Markel's loved ones. Y'all heard a lot in jury selection about how important this trial is to the defendant, which I'm sure it is. But Dan Markel was loved. He was a brother. He was a son. And this trial is his family's opportunity to see justice done for the person who set up their son's murder. And at the conclusion of this evidence, y'all will be convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty. And at that point, we'll ask you for the only verdict that does justice in this case, which is a verdict that the defendant is guilty as charged. Thank y'all.
Is the defense prepared to give its opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Judge, we just need one moment to fix the light.
Go ahead.
May I proceed, Your Honor? I'm gonna jump in. May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Good morning. didn't get to talk to you that much the last couple of days. My name is Dan Rathbaum, and with me is Kate Myers, and we represent Charlie Adelson. Now let me start by saying the obvious. The murder of Professor Markel was a tragedy. The world lost a brilliant legal mind. His family lost a son and a brother. This community lost its sense of security and lost a good citizen. And his two boys, the nephews of Charlie Adelson, lost a loving father.
Thank you so much.
His
Sydney, for
senseless
the
murder
tools.
continues to be felt throughout this community and others. It was inexcusable, despicable, evil. But what I'm going to tell you today is what actually happened. You will see that Charlie Adelson had nothing to do with the murder of Professor Markel. You will see that the state cannot come close to meeting its burden. Why? Because Charlie Adelson is innocent. Now, I don't have to prove innocence. What I'm telling you, I very rarely say in a courtroom as a defense lawyer. Charlie Adelson is innocent. And we'll get there. But the next thing I'm going to tell you, I also rarely say in a courtroom. And you may be surprised to hear this from a defense lawyer. I have great respect for the prosecutors and law enforcement on this case. I have admiration for their efforts after the murder of Professor Markel in trying to find out who did it. You will see that they spent countless man hours, cell phone tower dumps, surveillance videos from a boatload of places, buses, cameras on the street. Great law enforcement activity. And it paid off. They got the three killers. They convicted them. Sigfredo Garcia, convicted for life. Luis Rivera, Catherine Magbanua, convicted for life. Problem is, as you just heard, the state saw no connection between these people and Professor Markel. So from the very outset, the state suspected the Adelsons, the family. You saw the chart. It wasn't limited to Charlie Adelson. Unindicted co-conspirators in this case, the state has said it, Wendy Adelson, Donna Adelson, Harvey Adelson. The state knew, as you heard, that Wendy Adelson and Professor Markel had gone through a brutal divorce. You're going to see it. But they couldn't find the connection. But then they had their aha moment. As you heard, they determined that at the time of the murder in 2014, Charlie Adelson was dating Catherine Magbanua. And they learned that Catherine Magbanua had had a previous relationship, on again, off again, with Sigfredo Garcia. They learned that Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua shared two children together. They had their connection. The problem is, that's where the state began to guess, began to make assumptions. And you will see, we will show it, that those assumptions didn't make sense. Now, I love jigsaw puzzles.
Weirdo.
I've loved them since I'm young. The reason why I love them
I'm live.
is because they only work if every piece fits. No matter what you do with the jigsaw puzzle, if a piece doesn't fit, it becomes a mess. You can't hammer it, and you can't ignore it. Because if you ignore it, you have holes in the puzzle.
Yep.
What you're going to see is with regards to this case, that's exactly what the state tried to do. They heard things, they saw things, but there were problems. They couldn't fit all the pieces together under their theories that they told you about today. I'm going to show you how those puzzles, those pieces, they didn't fit. They don't fit. And why? Respectfully, the state does not know what happened on July 18, 2014. On that day, 2 crimes occurred. The first one, the state knows about, and that was the brutal, heinous murder of Professor Markel. The other one, they don't know about. They're about to find out like you, because that day would forever change Charlie Adelson's life. But before we get there, I like cliffhangers. It's important to give you some background and timeline of the events. Charlie Adelson is 46 years old, single with a young son. He grew up in South Florida, in Coral Springs in Broward County. His father was a dentist, a local dentist. It wasn't the Adelson Institute when Charlie was growing up. It was a small dental practice with his dad. Charlie is the middle child of 3. He is very close with his parents. As they said, he is very close with his mom. Growing up, the family was middle class. And Charlie was not particularly close with either of his siblings. He grew closer with Wendy as they got older. He went to college at the University of Central Florida, went to dental school in South Florida, and then periodontic school. When he graduated as a periodontist, he had an idea. Rather than work in his own practice, he figured that he could travel around to dental practices all over South Florida. He would be a traveling periodontist. So what you are going to learn in this case is that Charlie Adelson had practices from the very south of South Florida to as far places as Jupiter. He was in the car sometimes for hours in a day. And he worked a lot. You're going to see that. He was a workaholic. He spent a lot of time in that car. And what did he do when he was in the car to pass the time?
Cool.
He spoke a lot on the phone. He would talk to whoever would listen to him. And you're going to see in this case, this is one thing we won't deny, Charlie Adelson likes to talk. And he likes to repeat himself. And who would he speak with the most? He'd speak with his girlfriend. He'd speak with his mom. He'd speak with his friends. Now, Wendy Adelson, who's a state witness, followed a different path. She went to a prestigious university in Boston. She then went to school in England on a Truman Fellowship, and later went to law school. She got scholarships for law school and college. Soon after starting law school, she met Dan Markel, and they fell in love. They got married. They ultimately moved to Tallahassee, where they both worked for FSU. Professor Markel as a law professor of the law school. Charlie Adelson didn't have much to do with either Professor Markel or Wendy during their marriage or before their marriage. He would talk to his sister periodically, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. They lived in Tallahassee for years. Charlie Adelson visited him in Tallahassee 2, maybe 3 times. Charlie loved his sister. He sought advice from her, as she did with him every once in a while. But they weren't super close. They were brother, sister. The truth is that Charlie Adelson was a little self-centered. He was building his career. See, that traveling periodontist, in the beginning, it wasn't that successful. But by the time of this case, in the 2013-2014 time period, you're going to see that Charlie Adelson was making a lot of money. His practice was booming. He was working 6, sometimes 7 days a week. You'll see it on the
Same
wires.
as like
You'll see it
middle
in text
class.
messages. He would start his day early in the morning, and most days he wouldn't get home till 8, 9, 10 at night. At the time when this murder occurred, he was not married. He had no kids. He had a lot of money. And he was living a very good life. Now, in 2012, Wendy Adelson, on a trip down to South Florida, confides in her brother that she was having problems in her marriage. She told Charlie that she and Professor Markel had been going through marriage counseling. She asked him what he thought. He said, "Look, I want you to be happy, but you have to do what's best for you. I'm here to listen." Charlie had no involvement whatsoever in Wendy's decision to divorce Professor Markel. You'll hear that. And in September of 2012, Wendy filed for divorce. And you're going to hear about how she filed for the divorce, and you're going to learn that Charlie had no involvement in her leaving the house, had nothing to do with him. But we got to talk about TVs. And you're going to hear a lot about TVs in this case.
So much.
Excuse me.
I actually haven't watched
See,
this all the way through.
Charlie has a really bad history of telling bad jokes. So when Wendy left the house, his mom told him that she didn't have a TV. He asked her, he said, what can I do to help Wendy? She's moved to a new place. She's left most of the stuff behind. What can I do to help? And his mom said, she doesn't have a TV. He said, okay, when you go to Tallahassee, go to Best Buy, buy a TV for Wendy, and I'll pay you for it. And so Wendy got the TV, and she called Charlie. This is back in 2012. The murder's in 2014. And she thanked him for the TV. And he didn't say he looked into hiring a hitman. He joked, a bad joke. And he said it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. Now, not only was it a bad joke, but you're going to hear in this trial, Charlie repeated the joke. He repeated it a lot to a lot of people. You're going to hear that he repeated it as late as March of 2014. So the man that they think hired a hitman is joking to others about hiring a hitman. Puzzle pieces. And you're going to learn why his repeating of that joke is going to be so important. I'm going to tell you in a little bit. Keep in the back of your mind. But let's first go back to the divorce. The divorce was bitter. It was emotional.
One way to put it.
Wendy Adelson and Professor Markel, they'd have good times. But when things were bad, they would fight about everything. And in January 2013, Wendy Adelson filed a motion to relocate to South Florida with her 2 boys. That motion was opposed by Professor Markel. Now, what you're going to learn in this trial is that Wendy Adelson never thought that motion would be granted. Her lawyer told her that motion would never be granted. But she said, let's give it a shot. Charlie had very little to do with the motion. He knew she was filing it. He knew she didn't have much chance of getting it.
He wasn't a lawyer.
When it was denied, it didn't change Charlie Adelson's life one bit.
I'm just folding laundry.
But unlike
No
Charlie,
cooking yet.
his mom and dad were upset. They were upset because their daughter had a job opportunity in South Florida. She had no family support in Tallahassee, and they wanted her home. And you will see that Don and Harvey Adelson are very involved in their children's lives. We won't run away from that.
That's one way to put it.
You will see that Donna Adelson and Harvey came up with a lot of crazy ideas. I mean, crazy ideas. You're going to see them. You've heard about some of them. When they show you those crazy ideas, take a look if any of them includes murder. Doesn't. Take a look at any of those crazy ideas include anything illegal. It doesn't. Take a look at if they're actually then go to lawyers to make sure that their ideas are legal. Murderers, you heard it. Unindicted co-conspirators going to lawyers to make sure that what they're offering is allowed. You're going to see that. But the ideas were crazy. You're going to read the emails, a lot of emotion. A mother-in-law, a grandmother with a lot of emotion. And you're going to see that Wendy Adelson, she rejected the ideas. They were never presented to Dan Markel. And then you're going to see that there was another idea. They have mentioned it in their opening, but they don't understand the importance of it. See, at one point in time, Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson came with an idea to pay Professor Markel $1 million to allow their daughter to relocate. And they went to Charlie, who frankly by this point in time had more money than them. And they said, will you lend your sister $350,000? She'll pay you back or we'll pay you back. And he said, sure. And you're going to see that they presented this idea to Wendy Adelson. And the idea wasn't to take the boys out of Professor Markel's life. The idea was that with $1 million, if Professor Markel agreed, he could live in South Florida and commute back and forth to Tallahassee. He could work out his schedule. He didn't teach every day of the week.
That's the first time I've ever
He could
heard
work out his
that.
schedule so that he could still teach at the university and go back and forth. You're
Same,
going to see that Wendy
maybe.
Adelson never made that offer. But it's very important. Like the joke, I want you to put it in your back of your mind for now. Let's fast forward to October 2013.
Got electric.
October 2013, Charlie started dating Catherine Magbanua. We'll call her Katie. She was beautiful. She was smart. Like Charlie, she graduated from UCF. She was hardworking. He met her in one of the dental practices. At first, the relationship was casual. They wanted it that way. Charlie particularly liked it, and liked Katie, because she had 2 children. He worked a lot. His priority was his job. And Katie didn't bother him a lot. He only saw her like once, maybe twice a week. That's what he liked. And she was smart. She was fun. And he treated her very well. And that was very different, you'll learn, from how she was treated previously. Now, you'll hear that he spent a lot of time with Katie over the months that they dated. And remember how I told you Charlie talks a lot and repeats himself a lot? Well, when they were together, he did just that. He talked about his day. He talked about what was going on in the world. He talked about his family, which, by the way, was a constant topic every single day. Because when Charlie's driving in the car every morning for an hour to work and an hour home, sometimes longer, he talked to his mom on the phone. And when he talked to his mom on the phone, what would be a topic of heavy conversation quite frequently? Wendy's divorce. All the problems in the divorce. They told you that. They told you that in opening. And what would Charlie do? He would tell these things to his girlfriend. And what were some of the things he told her? Well, he told her about the $1 million offer. He told her that he could pay it in cash. She said, that's a lot of money. He said, no, I have it in cash, and I'm going to get it back. He told her several times the joke. Over time, you're going to see through text messages that Katie wanted a deeper relationship. And you'll see that Charlie didn't want that. You'll also learn, and the timeline is important. They meet in September. They start dating in October of 13. You're going to see that over time, it takes a couple months, Charlie starts to learn a little bit more about Katie's ex, Sigfredo Garcia. And what you're going to learn
Bye, Peggy.
is that
Have
Charlie
a great
Adelson
weekend.
never meets Sigfredo Garcia officially, but by all counts, he was not a good guy. Violent, long criminal history. Sigfredo Garcia and Katie had been high school boyfriend, girlfriend. And Katie was the love of Sigfredo's life. He lived for her. And you're going to see that Sigfredo Garcia hated Charlie Adelson. Puzzle pieces. So let me repeat it. You saw their chart. The shooter of Professor Markel,
See you next week.
the man who murdered him, hated Charlie Adelson. According to them, his co-conspirator. And you're going to hear, not from our witnesses, from their own witnesses, that he wanted to kill Charlie Adelson. You're going to hear that in March of 2014, just 7 or 8 weeks before that first attempt of murder that they talk about, he tried to kill him. Puzzle pieces. You're also going to hear about a phone call on July 1, 2014. You're going to actually hear that July 1, 2014 call is how they found these guys. It's actually the craziest fact in this entire case, and there's a lot of crazy facts.
Uh-huh.
You're going to hear that on July 1, 2014, Sigfredo Garcia made a call to the cell phone number of Harvey Adelson. It's the only call that helped investigators connect these folks to the Adelsons in the beginning.
Hey guys,
It actually broke the
that
case.
thumbs up button. That helps me a lot. Thank you.
What they don't know, what you're going to see, it's in text messages. It's discussed on the wires. They don't know it because they don't understand it because they weren't there. Is that on July 1st, 2014, just 3 weeks or so after the first murder attempt. And by the way, just 17 days before the murder. Let me repeat that. The murder happens on July 18, 2014. On July 1st, 2014, Sigfredo Garcia tries to run Charlie off the road. He threatens him. And what you're going to hear is that on July 1, he's so upset that he calls the Adelson Institute. He doesn't realize that Charlie isn't the doctor at the Adelson Institute. He just comes in and out of the place. So he gets their voicemail machine. You know how dentists are? They say in an emergency, call a cell phone number, take your call at home on the cell phone number. What he hears in an emergency, call Dr. Adelson at such and such number. He thinks he's calling Charlie Adelson, but he calls Harvey Adelson. And he calls him and he threatens him. He tells him, if you keep dating Katie, we're going to go mano y mano.
Mano y mano.
17 days
Mitchell.
before, according to them, he conspired with this man to kill Professor Markel.
I'm almost done.
Puzzle pieces.
What are you, a friggin'?
What you're going to learn is that in the spring of 2014, it became apparent to Katie that her dreams of financial security with Charlie were not going to work out.
Puzzle pieces.
You will learn that Katie heard the hitman joke. You will learn that she heard the $1 million offer and she got some ideas in her head. The state itself has called Catherine Magbanua the mastermind. And that's exactly what she was. So now let's get to July 18th. I kept you waiting long enough. The June attempt didn't happen because Rivera didn't want to kill Dan Markel when his boys were around. See, what you're going to learn is during that June attempt,
How kind of him.
on June 4th, 5th, Professor Markel had custody of the boys. You're going to learn that Professor Markel and Wendy Adelson shared custody 50-50. But you're going to learn that the state thinks Wendy Adelson was involved with her brother in a murder for hire, and she chose for the killers to kill her ex-husband when he had custody of her kids.
Why hasn't she been charged then?
Puzzle pieces.
Yeah, puzzle pieces.
So you're going to learn that Luis Rivera, who is a bad guy, he had some conscience somewhere. He didn't want to do it in front of the kids. So they came back. By the way, on July 18th, who had custody of the kids when the murder actually happened? Professor Markel. You're going to hear he dropped them off at school. But this family who did this so that their grandchildren could be with them, were going to risk for 2 hired hitmen to go up when he had custody of the kids. Puzzle pieces. July 18th for Charlie starts as a normal day. He works. You're going to see he lives in Fort Lauderdale. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with South Florida, so I'm going to give you a little bit of geography lesson. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. That day, he's working in 2 offices because he'd often work in 2 offices a day. He'd work in the morning at one place and the afternoon at another. So he's working in 2 offices. The first office he's working in, both of them actually, are in Jupiter, Florida. Now, if you're familiar with South Florida, Fort Lauderdale and Jupiter are not close. With South Florida traffic, in the morning, he was in the car for at least 2 hours. Now, he came home late that night, you're going to hear, so traffic was a little bit better, but it's probably still an hour to an hour and a half. Jupiter is north of Palm Beach.
Okay. I was just Googling where it
I know I'm
is.
about a third of the way here. That's a good way to look at it. If you live in Fort Lauderdale, when you hit Jupiter, you're 1/3 done. He's in the car, and he's talking on the phone. And you're going to see it. We're going to show you what the phone calls are about. He talks to his sister, talks to his mom, talks to his girlfriend. We'll talk to you about it. There are phone calls. You're going to see it. There are a lot of phone calls. And there are a lot of phone calls to his girlfriend. And there are a lot of phone calls to his mom. We're not going to deny that. And he works in these 2 offices. And at around 6 o'clock, you'll see a text message that he's about to start a very long surgery, a big procedure. By the way, the text messages throughout the day are normal. Just after 7 p.m., he gets a call from his mom. And he's told that Professor Markel has been shot. And he's shocked. He's upset. His first reaction is, Wendy and the boys okay? He's supposed to have dinner originally with a friend that night. But earlier in the day, that changes. And he's supposed to have dinner with Katie. And you're going to hear that Katie and him had gotten in a fight a couple days earlier about dinners. You'll hear it. And what you'll learn is after he finds out what happened, tells Katie he doesn't want to go to dinner. He leaves the office at around 8 o'clock in Jupiter. And you'll learn that Katie tells him she'll come to his house that night to comfort him. He shook
That's
up.
when they
Now,
just like did a
let me be
bunch of
clear.
Xanax.
You're going to hear he wasn't close with Professor Markel. They weren't friends. They had nothing in common. But he shook up because someone he knew, the father of his nephews, had been shot. When Katie arrived that night, and you're going to learn more details of how she gets there, what she has to do to get there. It's not planned. You're going to see that. The state's going to put on that evidence. You're going to learn that she's scrambling to get a babysitter. You're going to learn, by the way, that Charlie had seen her for lunch the day before. So if it's a murder for hire, why didn't she get the money then? Puzzle pieces. You're going to learn that she gets there that night, sometime after 11. And when she gets there, she is frantic. She's upset. And he's scared because he's never seen her this way. And she sits him down and she tells him something terrible has happened. She says that a friend of hers had shot Professor Markel. She tells him over and over that she had nothing to do with it. But these people, she was talking too much. And her friend and these people learned about the problems that his family was having with Professor Markel. They learned about the $1 million offer. And they got it in their minds to do this. As you can imagine,
The ginormous
Charlie's-
puzzle for
his life is
anyone
just forever been
following.
altered. He asked, who are these people? She won't tell him. It's not safe for you to know. Screaming at her. She won't tell him. Charlie had a guess. You will hear in detail what happened that night. You will learn that Charlie Adelson was told if he didn't pay within the next 48 hours, he or one of his family members would be next. You will learn that Katie repeatedly said that she had nothing to do with it and acted distraught. You will hear how she said that she would help him. You will learn about the initial payment. It wasn't $100,000. It was more than $100,000. He took out everything he had in his safe. You're going to learn about that. The state doesn't know it. It was more money. But you're going to learn he didn't have $1/3
I thought he was like the richest in the family.
So he had to pay every month. They don't know about that either. Payments every month. Does that sound like a murder for hire? Or does that sound like extortion?
It sounds like extortion, but you know.
You're going to hear about these gifts. And you're going to learn that the gifts were just that. They were gifts. Because as time went on, he became more and more certain that Katie was not involved. He became more and more certain that she was helping him. And he wanted to keep her happy too because he needed her. He needed her help. And you will hear that the payments changed a couple months after the night of the extortion. 2 crimes. You'll hear that the payments changed and that Katie was put on the books of the Adelson Institute. Paper trail. They created a paper trail. Puzzles don't fit. Pieces of the puzzle don't fit.
Oh, messed up.
And you'll hear that in order to put her on the books, despite Katie telling him the night of July 18th, you can never talk about this with anyone. You can never talk on the phone about this. You can never talk about it in public. You can never talk about it anywhere because if they find out, they will kill you and your family. If they think the police are coming to you to talk to you, they will kill you. Look at what they did to Professor Markel. But you will hear that he told someone. He had to. He told his mom. You'll learn that she was the bookkeeper for the Dental Institute. You'll learn why he had to tell her. You'll learn about those checks. They've never been able to understand. Why are they so sequential? Why are they back and forth? You'll learn why. They talk about the bump in 2016.
The bump.
What I like to call is the second extortion. What they don't realize is that their undercover operation was an extortion on an extortion. They don't know it. It's not their fault. And we're going to go through the wires with you. We're going to go through Dolce Vita with you. And we're going to show you how they actually prove his innocence.
Should I pack this?
We're going to show you how they are talking carefully. They're talking to him. He's talking about an extortion.
Yes.
They're happy if this bump is the police, because if it's the police, none of them are going to get killed.
I have it in yellow too.
If it's a bad guy, they're in danger. If you do a murder with someone, the last person in the world you want this bump to be is the police, because it means they're onto you. Puzzle pieces. Not from the first layer, she says, but from the second layer. I got goosebumps when she said it. It's one of my favorite lines in the recording. Not from the first layer, the first extortion, but from the second layer. 20 months later is the bump. That's the second layer to Charlie Adelson at that point in time. You will also see, and what's going to be weird about this case, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to start to see it today. Much of their case, I agree about. They're going to put witnesses up there. I'm not going to ask them one question. Some of their evidence is exactly the truth. It just doesn't prove a murder. The stapled money, it's his money.
Use it how you want it.
You will also see that Sigfredo Garcia was arrested on May 25, 2016. You will see that Luis Rivera was arrested on June 2nd, 2016. You will see that Catherine Magbanua was arrested on October 1, 2016. Guess who wasn't arrested? Charlie Adelson. He wasn't arrested for 6 more years. And what you're going to see is that they have the exact same evidence in 2016 against Charlie Adelson that they do today. The same liars. They talk about an enhanced Dolce Vita recording. You're going to get both recordings. You determine if you can hear anything better. See, the state's case against Charlie Adelson is a case of assumptions. It's a case of guesses. It was not brought until weeks before Katie Magbanua's trial. You can ask yourself why. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attention. I want to ask for your patience in this case. A man's life is in your hands.
Are you going to talk about puzzles?
He's innocent. Send him home. Take your eye.
Okay. Who is the first witness for the state? And I love this prosecutor, by the way. I think she is just like incredible. Ugh.
Recess before the first witness is called. Available is for the roll into jury.
Please place your notepads face down on your chairs.
Man, they have 7:20.
For everyone observing in the gallery, I just wanted to provide you some instruction now that we're going to move into the actual witness presentation. If you leave the room while the witness is testifying, you'll need to remain outside the courtroom doors until the next witness changes. Please do not move about the room or distract the jury or the parties while the witnesses are testifying as well. We will be in recess until 11:15.
You never compliment me.
Brief scheduling matter before we bring in the jurors and the first witness. Do the parties believe we'll be able to get through both Mr. Greer and the sergeant, or just Mr. Greer before taking a break for lunch?
I would like to go through Northeast if possible, but we can see how your idea is when we get to the end of Mr. Sergeant says.
All right, Mr. Rashbaum, do you wish to be heard? Anything to add?
No, Your Honor.
Please bring in the jurors.
I love how dry she is. I don't know, just something about her approach is very
Now everyone in the gallery is to
professional
rise.
/ confident
Note to self, no more water. Like, next time, bring a
and
bottle.
admirable. Birthday pops. You want to come in here?
Be another moment. They're still using the restroom, but when they come in, please rise.
I don't know. I think all Mitchell asks, is that usual if someone leaves they can't come back in? I think it's per judge's, like, the way that he wants it. You know what I'm saying? Like, each judge is different. But I think that's also kind of like a hockey game. If you get up for safety purposes, like while the puck is in play, you can't go back to your seats, and it's just polite.
Everyone can be seated. State, you may call your first witness.
State calls James Geiger.
Look at me. I'm liking this video. That's what I'd love for you to do for me, please. Wow, he looks happy.
Mr. Geiger, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly. You can adjust the microphone if you need to.
Good morning, Mr. Geiger.
Good morning.
Please spell your name for the court reporter.
First name James, James, middle initial W, last name Geiger, Geiger.
Mr. Geiger, do you live here in Tallahassee?
Yes, I do.
Where do you live?
I live on Trescott Drive in Tallahassee.
How long have you been living on Trescott Drive?
I think it's about 45 years now.
Judge, without objection, I'll move into evidence states 1.
States 1 is admitted.
Permission to publish by way of the laptop.
You may.
Okay. Did you used to have a neighbor by the name of Dan Markel?
Yes.
When was that?
Well, restate the question.
When did Mr. Markel live next door to you?
Oh, well, it was, he died 9 years ago and he had been there about 5 years before that.
All right. And where in relation to your home did Mr. Markel live?
He was my next door neighbor.
All right. So if we're looking at this photograph right here, which one is your home?
The one on the right is my home. The one on the left was Danny's.
All right. So that driveway there with the vehicle in the driveway, would that have been Mr. Markel's driveway?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Can you tell us about something that occurred back on July 18th of 2014?
On that morning, my wife and I were sitting in our living room, which looks out over Trescott Drive here, and we were working with an iPad on a couch, and we heard a noise, a loud bang. We weren't sure what it was, and I quickly got up to see what might have caused that noise. And there had been at the time some burglaries in the area, and I was concerned that perhaps that had been a burglary attempt. And so as I approached, we have a large window looking out on the street, and as I got to the window, I looked to the left and to the right because I wasn't sure where the noise came from. But on my right, as I looked out, I saw a car quickly back up out of the driveway and then head towards Benton Road very rapidly.
Let me interrupt you for just a moment. Judge, if there's no objection, I'd like to introduce states 2 and 3 at this time.
No objection, Your Honor.
States 2 and 3 are admitted at this time.
Can I publish 2? Okay, so is this the view you had from your window looking out toward Mr. Markel's drive?
Yes, that's correct.
And you said you saw a vehicle backing up out of his driveway?
Yes.
What type of vehicle was it?
Well, I caught it out of the corner of my eye, so it was not, I didn't look at it real hard, but it looked like a Prius to me. Looked like a silver or white colored Prius.
Anything about the way it backed out? Did it do that normally? Or?
So it just went very quickly, and that's what caught my attention.
All right. And which way did it go after it backed out of the drive there?
As it backed out of the driveway, it headed to the right, which was towards Benton Road.
All right. Were you able to see the occupants of the vehicle?
No, I couldn't see any inside.
Did you do anything to further investigate the situation? Could we publish 3, please?
Well, as I said, I was concerned that we had heard that there had been some burglaries in the area. And so I thought that I would walk next door to see if that might have been what happened. And as I approached Danny's house, I noticed that the garage door was up and his car was in the garage and it was running. And so I stopped then almost as I got to the garage, and I thought, well, so much for a burglary. If he's getting ready to leave, it wasn't anything like that. And so there must not be a problem. And I turned around and went back to my house at that point.
Oh, dear. What about once you got back inside the house? Did you do anything else?
Yeah, as I got back in, I kind of stood right at this window, and why, I'm not sure, but I just thought I would stand there for a minute or two and wait for him to go ahead and back out and leave. And after maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, he hadn't backed out yet. And I said to my wife, I said, something seems wrong to me. I don't know what it is. Danny hadn't left yet. I think I'm going to walk back over there and check things out. And so that's what I did, was to walk back over again.
What happened when you got over there?
Well, as I got back over, the garage door was still up. The car was still in the garage. It was still running. And I thought perhaps then that maybe he was on a phone and was simply staying there while he had his phone conversation. But again, I just wasn't quite sure. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to walk on into the garage and make sure everything's okay. And
Mr.
that's what I did.
In the 5 years or so that you lived next door to Mr. Markel, had you ever had an occasion to go over there and check on him before?
No.
So he probably sat in his driveway talking on the phone before, right?
He may have. I don't know. He was in the garage this time. I wouldn't have known if he was there or not.
But for whatever reason, the hairs on the back of your neck stood up this time.
I don't know that they stood
What
up.
would
but
he
there
have
was just
done if
something
it
that
was
said
a
I need to
burglar?
check it out.
All right. So what happened when you got over there?
Well, as I said, I decided I'd walk on into the garage. I felt a little awkward doing that, but I walked on in, and I looked at the driver's side window, and it was busted out. And at that point, I recalled stepping on glass. And as I looked in, then I could see a man's head. It was bloody, and he was looking through. Part of the glass was still there from the driver's side window, but part of it was blown out. And I looked inside, and I saw a head. It was bloody, and it was moving back and forth slowly.
Mm-hmm. Was it Mr. Markel inside the car?
Yeah, and I said, Danny, what happened? And there was no response, just that slow moving back and forth. And I hollered out again, Danny, what happened? And there was still nothing. And at that point, I knew he needed help, and I had to call 911. And so I reached into my pocket, which is where I normally keep my cell phone, and it wasn't there. And then I recalled that while I was sitting on the couch, I'd taken it out and set it down there. So I quickly ran back to the house. It's not very far away, as you can see, and got my phone and then called 911.
Did you know anything about Dan Markel? Did he have a family living there with him?
Yeah, he and his wife had just been married when they moved into that home, and they were there. And then a couple of years later, they had a child, and then another child, and they had some difficulties, and they divorced, or I guess we're in the process of being divorced. And she had moved out, and so Dan stayed there. Frankly, we didn't see him a whole lot.
All right, but he was living there and had the boys sometimes.
Yes.
All right, at the time that this happened.
Correct.
Okay. Were the children there with him when he was injured in this way?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you didn't see the children there?
No.
All right. So you go back and get your phone and call 911. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review the 911 call in this case previously?
I have.
All right. And is that your voice on the call that we played previously?
Yes, it is.
All right, Judge, at this time, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 82, and ask for permission to publish.
Any objection?
No objection.
Case 82 is admitted. You may publish.
911, what's your emergency?
It's right next door to my house, which is 2122 Trescott Drive.
Can you repeat that for verification?
2122 Trescott Drive, repeat.
Boy's
Okay,
criminal, boy's criminal.
I'm calling from 850-212-4623.
Okay, so exactly what happened?
We heard a loud bang and a car pulled away from next door. I came over and looked in, the garage door was up, and I thought the gentleman was backing out, and I went back to my house, but never backed out, and I came back over, and his driver's side window is shattered, and he's spattered, and can't answer. He's inside. I don't know if somebody tried to shoot him, or if he shot himself, or what, I don't know.
And it was at this location, correct?
Right next door. I'll give you mine. I don't know his address. It's next door.
Okay.
Can you send that one tomorrow? Me and Jimmy. He's still alive. He's moving.
Okay, what's going on with him?
I don't know. The driver's side window is all bashed in. He's inside. The car is running, and he's got blood all over his head. He's not responding to me. That number, by the way, is 2116. 2116.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Jim Geiger, Geiger.
Mr. Geiger, you said that the man that you saw in the vehicle was unresponsive to you. If there's no objection, I would like to introduce State's Exhibit 5 at this time.
Okay.
States 5 in the middle.
May I publish?
Okay.
Is this Mr. Markel, your neighbor?
Yes,
Okay, and when you say he was not responsive, was he able to say any words to you?
I didn't hear any words at all.
Okay, what sounds did you hear coming from
I
him?
didn't hear any sound. I just saw his head slowly rolling back and forth.
Okay, he wasn't moaning at all, or?
Not that I heard.
Okay. All right, may I introduce State's Exhibit 6 and 7 at this time, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 6 and 7 are in the middle.
Publish 6, please. All right, so is this looking up Mr. Markel's driveway?
Yes,
All right, and State 7, please. Is this how with the exception of the doors being open in this photo, is this how Mr. Markel's vehicle appeared to you when you approached on that day?
yes.
I'm going to approach with State's Exhibit 4. Mr. Geiger, have you had an opportunity to see that image before?
Yes.
Is that your signature there on the image? Initials, I
Oh,
should say.
yes, it is.
Okay, and is that indicating that the vehicle pictured in this exhibit is consistent with the vehicle you observed in Mr. Markel's driveway that day?
Yes, that's true.
Permission to publish, introduce and publish Statement 4.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 4 in the middle.
And I believe you said on the recording there that the car was running. Is that true?
That's true.
Did you touch the victim or the car?
No, I didn't.
Did you move anything inside the garage?
No.
Can you estimate how much time passed between the time you heard the loud bang and the time that you called 911?
I would say between 5 and 10 minutes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 81. Is State's Exhibit 81 up there an accurate map, it's an aerial map of your residence and the scene where this occurred?
Yes.
Judge will ask to move to eminence State's 81.
Any objection? No objection. Okay, States 81 in the middle.
Can I publish?
Okay.
Can you zoom in? All right, so if you're coming in off of, can you show, off Thomasville Road there, the yellow line, how would you get to Mr. Markel's residence from Thomasville Road?
Well, you could do it more than one way. One is to go on the yellow road there, which is Thomasville Road, down to pretty close where that green mark is, which is Benton Road. You would take a left, come up to Trescott Drive, and then go back.
Okay.
That would be one way to do it.
Yes, sir.
Another way would be to exit off of Thomasville Road on Klein, and then come across to Trescott Drive. And in that case, you'd be turning right.
And on that one, we got to go up a little bit, right?
Yes.
So maybe Armistead to climb
Yeah.
to Trescott. Okay. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Geiger, you may step down, sir.
Thank you.
May Mr. Geiger be released, Your Honor?
He is.
Hey guys, if you could hit the thumbs up, that would help me a lot.
Geiger,
Thank
you are
you
released.
so
Okay,
much.
great.
Let's get back
Please
to
call the
500,000 views
Oh, sorry,
this month. Also, just commenting with an emoji, that helps too.
Sergeant, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat.
Hello.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
David Sims, DAVID SIMS.
How are you employed, sir?
I'm retired Sergeant for the Police Department,
How long were you with TPD?
28 years.
And were you working there back in 2018?
Yes, I was.
Did you
You
respond?
said 2018?
I'm sorry, 2014.
2014, yes.
I'm sorry. Did you respond to 2116 Trescott Drive back in on July 18th of 2014?
I did.
All right. And what were you responding in reference to?
A call of possible shots fired.
Okay. What did you observe when you arrived there?
When I arrived, I parked on the street, and the neighbor, Mr. Geiger, pointed out the house. I walked up the driveway. The garage door was up. There was a vehicle parked in the driveway running. And as I approached the vehicle, I noticed glass on the ground outside the driver's side. And I checked the door locks, and the car was locked, but it was running. There was a person inside the car, kind of slumped over, maybe a little to the right. The glass for the driver's window.
Let me pause you right there. Maybe publish 7, please.
Any objection?
This one's in evidence, Your Honor. All right, so proceed with your answer. So you arrive, and is this what you see?
Yes.
So the doors were shut, correct? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
And as I approached in the picture there, the vehicle door was open, but it was closed and locked when I arrived, and the glass in the driver's door was partially broken out. And there appeared to be a small half circle in that glass as if a projectile had entered or exited through that window.
So at this time, I'd like to move into evidence, State's Exhibit 8.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 8 is admitted.
Please publish 8. All right, does this photograph show the little shattered glass with the half circle you were referencing?
Right, up there in the corner.
Okay. What else did you observe there?
Inside the vehicle, I called the victim's possible name. I was given the name of Daniel. I called Daniel. There was no response. He was breathing, but in a gasping manner. It was just kind of repetitive gasp. No movement, no response to me. I went around to the other side of the vehicle after I unlocked and reached in the window, unlocked the door, went around to the other side, opened that door.
Those will
turned the
work.
car off.
Thanks,
The car
Mitchell.
wouldn't possibly be put in the gear when EMS got there, plus the fumes. So I dropped the keys on the floor in the garage, and I tried to call his name again, no response. By that time, I heard EMS, their sirens right down the street, so they were almost there. I did notice that in his left hand, he had a cell phone, and in his right hand, he had like a business card. And he also, the glasses, there was eyeglasses, half was laying in his lap, and the other half was laying on the floor of the car, like they had just been broken right across the bridge.
All right, this time I'd ask to introduce into evidence States 9 and 10.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 9 and 10 are admitted.
Publish 9, please. All right, so this, could you zoom in a little bit on the floor of the garage next to the driver's side? All right, so what is this that we're seeing on the ground here?
That looks like possibly the cell phone, and I don't know if that's the glasses or not, because once this picture would be after EMS arrived, and they took him out of the vehicle, and I'm not sure what on that side, what was moved and everything that was done when EMS was trying to extricate him from the car.
Okay, before the doors were open and EMS extricated the victim, were you able to observe some shattered glass?
Oh, there was definitely glass on the outside, yes.
Okay. The next photo. 10. Publishing 10. It's just another shot of that shattered glass there. And can you tell whether those are the glasses that you observed?
Yes.
Okay, and the cell phone there on the ground?
Correct.
Okay. Where was that cell phone when you initially observed it?
It was in his left hand.
So it was moved whenever they removed the victim
Correct.
to try to render aid.
Correct.
And was he taken to the hospital?
Yes.
When you say that you opened the car doors, did you have to touch both door handles to do that?
Usually when I have a car that's something like this, a stolen car or anything, I don't want to get pin sign. In my uniform, I always have a pen, like just a big pen with the top that comes off. And I use that to pull in the door handles, and I use that to reach in and unlock the vehicle so I don't touch anything.
Huh.
Did you observe any signs there at the scene that there had been forced entry of the residence or anything disturbed or taken?
No, after the victim was removed from the car, then myself and another officer, we took the keys that I had taken out. We had to unlock the door to get into the house from the garage, and we checked the house. The other doors were locked, and there was no signs of anything in the house, no persons, and no struggle or anything inside the house.
Okay, and the children were not present at
Children
the
were
scene?
not present.
Okay. Did you move the car at all?
No.
All right, so the way it's photographed here is the position it was in when you found it?
Right, after we were done checking the house, and the scene was turned over to our investigators and to forensics.
Okay, no further questions.
Cross-examination.
No question, John.
Is the sergeant-
For real?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, ma'am. Have a good day, sir. Please call your next witness.
State calls
He
Joanne
took his
Maltese.
entire day off. This guy's last name is Maltese. Riley, do you hear that? I have a Maltese. He wouldn't remember me saying that because he has doggy dementia.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat.
Ma'am, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Joanne Maltese, Joanne, and Maltese, Maltese.
How are you employed, ma'am?
Retired Tallahassee Police Forensics Specialist. I now have some businesses in Thomasville, Georgia.
How long were you with TPD?
TPD for 26 years.
And were you with them back in 2014?
Yes, I was.
What were your duties back in 2014?
2014, I was a forensic specialist, and my primary duties were the documentation, collection, and preservation of evidence at a crime scene.
And what training and education did you receive to do that type of duty?
At the time, I had over 1,500 hours of specific crime scene training to include photography, collection, DNA, fingerprints, as well as I taught at Pat Thomas Law Enforcement Academy in crime scene, as well as teaching at the police department.
Did you respond to 2116 Trescott Drive on July 18th, 2014?
Yes, I did.
And is that the scene that's shown in the photograph, States 10, that's up on the screen right now?
Yes, it is, inside the garage.
All right. Is that residence here in Leon County?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm going to ask to introduce at this time, Your Honor, States 11 through 17.
Any objection? No objection. States 11 through 17 are admitted at this time.
All right. So did you photograph this vehicle as part of your duties?
Yes, I did.
All right. So may I publish States 11?
You may.
All right. Just if you'll just kind of walk us through these photos and what we're looking at in States 11.
This photo is the rear passenger area showing children's shoes and car seats.
All right. Were the kids present when you were working the crime scene?
No, they were not.
States Exhibit 12, please. What is this a photograph of?
It's a piece of broken eyeglass that was on the floor of the garage.
And how was the eyeglass broken, if you know?
The opticals or the lenses were located still inside of the vehicle. Just half of the eyeglass was outside, and there is damage to the nose piece of the eyeglass.
Potentially consistent with the bullet causing the damage to the glasses?
It would be consistent.
Right, so it's Exhibit 13, please.
You know what
What is
also
this?
helps
The
the
optical or the
algorithm?
lens of a pair of glasses located on the floorboard of the vehicle in the driver's compartment.
States Exhibit 14. What is this?
It's going to be a wallet found in the glove box of the vehicle.
Was the glove box open or shut when you arrived on scene?
It was closed.
All right, States Exhibit 15. Did it appear that the box had been rifled through or that any items had been taken from the wallet?
No.
States Exhibit 16. What does this show?
This is going to be the driver's side door.
If you guys are so inclined and you don't want to show who you are or comment in the chat, you can go to the chat box and you'll see like an emoji, a heart emoji. If you click that, it just sends emojis in the chat. So that helps the algorithm somehow. But yeah, that's the best way I can explain it.
Window, the driver's door window, with a hole in the glass.
Consistent with a bullet hole?
Yes, it would be.
States Exhibit 17. What does this show?
This is another photograph from a different angle of the same hole in the window that would be consistent with a bullet hole.
And did you collect some physical items of evidence from the photographs that we've just looked at?
Yes, I did.
Thomasville, Georgia. I'm going to go out on a ledge and assume that's where the furniture manufacturers from.
States Exhibit 115. Do you recognize 115?
Yes.
What is 115?
It's going to be the eyeglass frame that was from the passenger floorboard, the front passenger floorboard in the vehicle.
And States Exhibit 116. What is that one?
116 is going to be the other side of the eyeglass frame that was on the garage floor.
May I publish? I'm sorry, I'd like to introduce 116 and
All
117.
you can do is great, Mitchell. So,
Correction
or
for
the
the
best
record,
you
Your Honor,
can
115
do.
and 116.
Thank you.
States 115 and 116 are admitted at this time.
I should really clean my makeup brush.
Moving on to 117. Do you recognize 117?
Yes.
What is that?
It's going to be the lens or the optical located on the front driver's floorboard in the vehicle.
All right, and what about 118?
118 is going to be a piece of the other lens or eye optical from the glasses that were on the front driver's seat.
Are those in the same or substantially the same condition as when you impounded them?
Yes.
Judge, I'd move into evidence 117 and 118.
Any objection? No objection. States 117 and 118 are admitted at this time.
And then 119, if you could tell us what that is, please.
119 is going to be the wallet and its contents, other than the cash that I had to take out. It was located in the glove box.
And that item in the same or substantially the same condition as well?
Yes.
And move into evidence states 119, Your Honor.
Any objection? No objection. 119 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
I got it from my live stream and everything. And
And the driver's license was in the wallet, States Exhibit 119.
Daniel Markel.
Showing you States Exhibit 120. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
What is this item?
It's going to be the actual glass from the driver's door.
And how were you able to remove the glass and package it in this way?
Due to the glass being broken, I used clear tape and lined the entire inside and outside of the glass prior to taking it out so it would stay together.
Is it in the same condition as when you impounded it that day?
Yes.
Judge, moving to evidence states 120.
Any objection? No objection. States 120 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
So which way does it go? The photos up there. Oh, excuse me.
All right, this is going to be the inside that you're looking at. And
So in reference to the picture like this.
yes, that would be in that reference.
Debating whether I want to give away some membership
I'm showing you States Exhibit 121.
or if I should do that on
this item is.
Yes.
What is that?
This item is a fragment of glass that was taken off of Mr. Markel's face at the hospital.
Did you respond to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
What were your duties at the hospital?
I arrived at the hospital to document the condition, collect clothing, swabs, and any evidence from Mr. Markel.
All right. As part of that, did you photograph Mr. Markel in the hospital?
Yes, I did.
All right. Moving to evidence, states 22, 23, and 24, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
States 22, 23, and 24. And then
It's weird to watch a court criminal trial with no objections
Yes,
over
Your Honor. This
evidence.
time I'd ask to publish states 22. Can you rotate it, please? So that he's that way. This was the condition Mr. Markel was in at the hospital?
Yes.
How long after you arrived at the scene, the crime scene,
that?
were these photos taken at the hospital? You know.
The crime scene, I arrived at around 11:30 in the morning, and then these photos would have been taken around 12:30. So an hour later.
And Mr. Markel was still alive at that time?
Yes.
Right. Please publish states 23. Why did you take this photo?
This photo, I'm documenting a dark area on his forearm, which is consistent with stippling.
And are you referring to this area here in the photo?
Yes.
And what is stippling?
Stippling is when you're in close contact or close area of a gunshot blast or a gun going off, and the gunpowder that is exiting from the gun comes out at a high speed, and it will stain or tattoo your skin.
All right, so the indication is potentially a close proximity of the muzzle of the firearm at the time of firing.
Yes.
All right. Publishing States Exhibit 24. Is this a close-up of that stippling that you described?
Yes.
All right. And
I
once
always
Mr.
struggle
Markel was
on
pronounced
Fridays.
deceased, did you go to the autopsy?
No, I did not.
I have a couple other photos to show you in reference to your work on this case.
I'll save it for Tuesday.
This is 18 through 21. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
And what are these photos of?
These photos were taken at the Tallahassee Police Department. I was requested to document a vehicle there.
All right. What type of vehicle was that?
It was a 2007 Honda Odyssey van.
All right. And was that Wendy Adelson's vehicle?
Yes, it was.
All right. Move to introduce 18 through 21, Your Honor.
No objection.
States 18 through 21. But
May I publish?
you may.
All right. Publish 18, please. All right. This is just the exterior of the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. 19, please. All right. Next photo, 20. Was this a receipt from a purchase that was made the day of the homicide?
Yes.
Okay. You just photographed that there inside the vehicle?
Yes, I did. Front passenger seat.
All right. And next photo, 21.
Mitchell
Is that the
says
receipt?
Yes, it is.
from
Where was the
Schwab to
purchase made?
Schmears.
Purchase was made at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits.
On what date and time was the purchase made?
7/18 of 2014 at 12:49 p.m.
Okay. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Very briefly. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
When you arrived on the scene, it was taped off, correct?
Yes, it was.
He's
And the
very
tape was
short.
approximately 5 or 6 properties to either side?
Correct.
To either side of the residence, right?
Yes.
Now, going back to Exhibit 20. Can I put Exhibit 20 on there?
There's nothing wrong with that. He is just very
Oh, show me the plate.
compared to her. But I also think she's really tall, if my memory serves me correctly.
This is a picture that you took,
Yes.
and it's a picture of Bullet whiskey. Is that right?
Bullet Rye whiskey. Yes.
Is there a reason why you took this picture?
I was requested to take a photo of it.
Who requested you to take it?
Investigators that were there with me. And I would have also photographed everything in the vehicle.
And this came out of Wendy Adelson's car?
Yes.
Were you aware that Wendy Adelson was invited to a party where she was asked to bring bullet bourbon, bullet
No.
whiskey?
No, I was not.
You didn't try to do investigation into that?
I do crime scene. I'm not an investigator.
Now, going to Exhibit 21. Can you put them
Sorry.
This is so far away.
That's Frank's favorite as well.
Going to 21. Can you tell when the purchase occurred at ABC?
When it occurred?
At what time?
According to the receipt, it's 12:49 and 13 seconds.
Okay, and you see that right under the words regular sale?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Ron.
They are.
Is the witness released?
Yes.
Have a good day. At this point, we are going to take our lunch break. Members of the jury, you've heard this instruction from me several times. I'm going to add yet another log to the fire. Do not discuss this case with each other or anyone else, or look at any of the news reports or find any information concerning this matter. If you choose to have your lunch together, you certainly may. Again, the only prohibition is you're not to discuss the case itself. You will need to return by 1:15, and at that point, we will resume with the trial as quickly as possible. Enjoy your break.
Arguments outside of the jury. You know that's my favorite time, babes. That's a interesting tie. That's the court TV girl.
Everyone can be seated. The parties will need to be back by 1:10. From there, we'll just be waiting on the jurors to be settled and come back out, and we'll resume with the testimony.
But I'm advised there will be an objection to the photos of the next exhibit. Would you like to take that up now or when we get back to 110?
Let's go ahead and deal with it now.
Next witness is the medical examiner. And the state intends to publish state's exhibits 25 through 34. May I correct, Your Honor?
You may.
He reminds me of the Casey Anthony judge. Did you heed all my previous admissions? Admissions? Buddy Riley. Hope you guys don't hear my dog whimpering. He's
Judge, they're cumulative and prejudicial. We're not disputing the murder. They've already put in one picture.
He
We
thinks
don't see the need to put in it's 10 or 12 more.
You're conceding element one of the murder charge.
We're conceding that Professor Markel was murdered and that he died.
State response.
With all due respect, Your Honor, the state still has the obligation to prove each element and has the right to do so through the use of these photographs and testimony of Dr. Clark.
They've already proved it.
Mr. Rauschbaum, we're not going tip to tap. Is there anything else that you need to raise that has not been already?
No, Your Honor.
Well, as to the evidence being cumulative, I'm going to overrule. As to that objection, I will permit the state to admit these items with a proper foundation for the doctor. The doctor will be permitted to testify as to the manner and method of the homicide and document his findings.
Everybody listen to
We'll be
maybe.
in recess until 1:10. Enjoy your break.
What? Really? Did they just not fix it? Look at his angry face.
Everyone can be seated. Members of the jury, we will continue with the state's case at this time. State, you may call your next witness.
State calls Dr. Clark.
I'm 50-50 on the forensic or the medical guy. Wow. Look at that beard. Oh, you know what?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
We're doing him. We know what happened to Dan. You know what I'm saying? This FBI guy was wild in his mother's trial. Oy vey is right. The Schmears, the Sweats, the Schwabs. I don't know.
Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? Yes, I do. You may take your seat.
Please say your name and spell your name.
Patrick Sanford, Sanford.
How are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you been with the FBI?
Approximately a little over 24 years, 22 of which I was here in Tallahassee.
What are your duties there?
I'm a special agent. I investigate cases and protect national security.
And were you assigned to investigate a murder case involving the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, I was.
Were you the lead investigator on that case?
Correct.
Did you assist the Tallahassee Police Department in that case?
Yes, I did.
Why was the FBI included in that particular investigation?
At the beginning, they had several leads, like interviews, things that they found that were outside of the city of Tallahassee. That we have agents, all over the country, so we're able to facilitate some of those leads and track down certain aspects.
And were some of those leads in the Miami area?
Yes, they were.
And were you assisted by Miami authorities as well in the investigation?
Correct.
As part of the investigation, were the people that were considered to be closest to the victim interviewed?
Yes, they were.
And would that include the ex-wife, Wendy Adelson?
Yes.
What did you learn in the investigation about the relationship between the victim and his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson?
They had gone through a very contentious divorce, which even after the divorce was finalized, they still had several issues that they dealt with through the court system.
I'm going to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 56.
In the last 10 years,
Do you
she's
recognize
had
this
really
exhibit?
bad back problems, but it got really
I
bad
do.
You had an
3
opportunity to
months
look at that exhibit
ago.
before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, is that a fair and accurate copy of Wendy Adelson and Dan Markel's divorce file
That's correct.
from the clerk's office here in Leon County?
Correct.
All right, Judge, at this time, I'd ask you to move into evidence State's Exhibit 56.
Objection, States 56. Very well. States 56 is admitted at this time or with objection.
Did you review this divorce file as part of your investigation in this case?
Yes, I did.
About how many pages are in that?
Around 576, I believe.
And I want to draw your attention to a couple things specifically, like on page 82, paragraph 13, they were arguing over everything, right? All the belongings,
Correct.
down to a tennis racket.
That's correct.
Okay. As part of these proceedings, did Wendy Adelson seek to relocate with her children from Tallahassee to Miami, Florida?
Yes, you did.
And why did she want to relocate to South Florida, according to the filings?
The filing stated that she had a job offer in South Florida that was more lucrative than her current job.
All right. And did Mr. Markel object to her petition to relocate with the children?
He did.
All right. Did he file quite a lengthy and emphatic objection to that?
Yes, he did.
And in his motion, and that's going to be on page 82, why did he indicate he believed was the sole reason that Ms. Adelson wanted to move to South Florida?
He stated that the sole reason was because she could relocate with the party's minor children to be near her parents.
And was the relocation
Or maybe.
petition that Wendy filed, was that ruled on?
Yes, it was.
All right. So what did the court say about that?
The court ruled against that and ruled against her, saying she had to stay in Tallahassee with the children.
And if I said that was June 20th of 2013, does that sound right?
That's correct.
Okay. When was the divorce made final? And for that, I'll direct you to page 457 and 458.
I believe it was made final in July 31st of 2013, I believe.
All right. And did that conclude the legal issues between Ms. Adelson and Professor Markel?
No, it did not.
All right. So they continue to file quite a lot of filings after that. Is that right?
That's correct.
In fact, there's over 250 more pages of stuff after the divorce was final. Is that right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to March 26th of 2014. Did Mr. Markel file a motion seeking some relief related to the grandmother, Donna Adelson?
Yes, he did.
And what specifically was he seeking in reference to Donna Adelson?
He was seeking to limit her visitation rights to where they had to be monitored,
Supervised by another adult.
That's correct.
And why in the pleading did Mr. Markel indicate that this supervision was needed?
I'm sorry. Could you refresh the page
Page,
number?
look at 450. Yeah, 450.
Mr. Markel stated that that the children informed him that grandma says you're stupid and that she says you're trying to take your sunshines away.
That grandma, meaning Donna Adelson,
That's correct.
was saying that telling the kids that Dan Markel was stupid?
That's correct.
Well,
Did
he
you
was a
also
lot
come
of
into
things, but he
possession of
wasn't
some
that.
emails that were exchanged between Wendy Adelson and Donna Adelson.
We did.
All right, I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 57. Have you had an opportunity to review those emails
Yes, I have.
prior to today, which we can't find? Have you had a chance to review those before today?
I have.
Okay. Anything in those emails that goes to motive in your investigation?
Yes, there is.
And what is that?
She was being very assertive. Mrs. Adelson, Donna Adelson, was being very assertive with Wendy Adelson, trying to influence her to do different things to Mr. Markel to get him to agree to let her and the children to move to South Florida.
And what was the thing that was expressly stated in these emails as the most important part of Wendy's whole divorce and litigation?
It was relocation to South Florida to be close to the family.
All right. And was there mention in those emails of a bribe that was to be offered to Dan Markel to potentially facilitate this relocation?
There was.
And who was going to pay for the bribe?
There was going to be a three-way payment between Donna and Harvey Adelson. We're going to pay 33% of it. Charlie Adelson would pay 33%, and then Wendy would pay the other 33%.
All right. And what was the total amount of this potential bribe?
$1 million.
All right. Was there any financial benefit to Wendy Adelson that occurred as a result of Dan Markel's death?
There was.
What were those that benefit or benefits?
There was at least, I believe, a couple of life insurance policies, one of which was around $2 million. There was Social Security benefits to the kids that were provided, I believe, like $4,800 a month. There was a 401k that he left behind, and some other accounts.
Pension as well?
Yes, there was a pension.
Okay. And some deferred comp, $217,000 there?
That's correct.
Okay. You mentioned the 401k. Do you recall how much money was in that?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay. Is there something that could refresh your memory on that?
Possibly.
Does $100,000 sound right?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Objection? No.
As part of
we're
the
just
investigation
gonna
in this
let them
case,
say whatever
you
they
looked
want.
at sort of the people closest to Dan. Did you also investigate the day of the homicide and his routine or activities that day?
We did.
And what did you learn about his schedule that day?
That morning, he had custody of the kids that day, his two children, his two boys. He took them to daycare over off of West Start Street, dropped them off around 8:50 a.m., and then drove back across town and went to Premier Gym right off of McClay Boulevard, Thomasville Road, Capitol Circle area.
Was there any surveillance images captured outside the gym that showed the vehicles coming and going from there?
Yes, there was some exterior cameras on the gym itself, on the roof of the gym.
And did that surveillance, were you able to identify from that surveillance which vehicle was Dan Markel's vehicle arriving at the gym?
Yes, we were.
Okay. And was there another vehicle that appeared to be a suspect vehicle captured in this video?
That's correct.
And why did you describe, or why am I describing this other vehicle as a suspect vehicle?
We did obtain multiple pieces of footage, video footage around town, also showing that it appeared a light green Prius was following Mr. Markel wherever he went that morning.
And was that description of a vehicle consistent with the description that Mr. Geiger gave us of the vehicle that he saw leaving the crime scene?
That's correct.
All right. Was there a compilation of relevant clips or parts of this video surveillance collected from Premier Gym to show the jury just sort of the relevant portions?
There was.
And you've had an opportunity to review that?
I have.
Okay. And those images are fair and accurate clips or portions of the Premier Gym surveillance video?
That's correct.
Judge, I'd ask to introduce into evidence that Premier video surveillance footage at this time, which I believe is 83. We check that.
No objection. No objection, Your Honor. States 83 is admitted.
States 83, Your Honor. And that's going in the form of, what did it say about 83? It's in the form of a disc, Your Honor, but I'd ask for permission to publish by way of the laptop. All right, if you'll kind of walk us through what we're looking at here, and we may need to pause when he starts talking.
This is from the roof of the Premier Gym. This is off of the north side facing toward the Fresh Market, that area. If you're familiar with that area, Fresh Market's off to the right. There's an entrance to the right of the screen, and there's also the main entrance, which is way further left of the screen that you can't see here.
All right, but this is a portion of the parking lot that's where the cars are lined up there.
That's correct. Those are vehicles parked in the parking lot of the gym.
All right, let's publish. Okay, we're seeing a blue circle around a dark vehicle. Could you tell us what that indicates?
That is Mr. Markel's vehicle.
And this is him entering the gym at 9:11
That's correct. He just came into the parking lot and is going around to the front side of the gym.
All right, now what are we looking at?
This is just a different angle a little bit further back, and this is Mr. Markel immediately preceding the video we just saw where he's coming into the screen, coming into the front of the gym.
I know. Prius.
Park somewhere?
Yes, he parks right behind that American flag.
Hell yeah. Red, white, and blue, baby.
All right, that was 9:12. What is this camera angle?
This is the same angle. It's just a little bit further to the left, and that is the front of the gym right there where the green Prius just drove right in front of the front door of the gym.
Okay, so they entered the parking lot through different entrances.
That's correct. They entered over off of the west side of the parking lot.
All right, so we see the Prius here, and we know where Mr. Markel's parked there behind the flagpole. What is that?
Correct. He's still in the vehicle, just exited the vehicle there, I believe.
All right, so the blue circle indicates that's him getting out of his vehicle?
Correct.
And where's the Prius at this time?
The Prius continued on through the parking lot on the north side. And
all right, now we're at 9:13 a.m. Is that Mr. Markel in the red?
Yes, it is.
Do we have any reason to believe that any suspects entered the gym?
No, we do not.
How long was Professor Markel inside the gym?
I believe about an hour and a half. I believe it's about 10:38 when he leaves, somewhere around there.
All right, and what are we looking at here outside at 9:16 a.m.?
9:16, the green Prius is still driving through the parking lot, but it's coming back from where it had passed through, coming back toward the gym. This is on the south side of the parking lot of the gym, and the green Prius just drove through there and is driving around the parking lot still. Again, the vehicle is turned around and is coming back toward the gym in the same parking lot.
Almost managed to get in a wreck there.
Just missed.
Okay, what's happening here?
This is Mr. Markel exiting the lobby of the gym, coming through the lobby.
All right, now at 10:34, what do we see?
We see Mr. Markel walking away from the front doors of the parking into the parking lot toward his vehicle.
What are you guys doing this weekend? I love his testimony in the mom's trial.
All right, so we saw Mr. Markel's vehicle leaving. Is that the Prius that was back there in that orange circle?
That's correct. They were in the far northwest part of the parking lot parked. When he exited, they started to exit. And he exited on the Village Square Boulevard exit.
So we never saw anybody exit the Prius during the surveillance video.
No, we did
They
not.
stayed in the car the whole time.
That's correct.
Were you able to learn anything about the suspect vehicle from the surveillance images as far as the color?
We were able to determine the approximate year range of that type of vehicle based on the body style. Going through the Toyota dealership and other experts were able to determine that it was a 2006 to 2009 Toyota Prius with a silver pine mica is the name of the paint, which is kind of a light green.
Were you able to learn anything or find any other surveillances to establish anything about the route the victim took to and from the gym?
Yes, we were.
What evidence was that?
We were able to obtain city bus video. All the city buses had video in the exterior and the interior of them. We went back along the route that he took, and we believe he took, and reviewed bus footage video of that and found footage of those vehicles.
All right, and just to try to get our timeline as narrow as we can, this gym video ends at 10:38 a.m. What time did the 911 call come in?
Came in, I believe, 11:02.
And have you had an opportunity to review the exhibit, State's Exhibit 84, with the video from the buses that's been put together similarly to how we did the gym surveillance?
Yes, I have.
And is it fair and accurate?
It is.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to introduce State's. Let me check on the exhibit numbers. 84, which is the bus video clips.
Any objection?
Okay.
States 84 is admitted.
What are bus videos? Where are cameras mounted on city buses?
On the exterior and the interior of the buses, and it's for safety purposes and for review purposes for the city.
How were you able to know how to find this stuff?
We were able to find out which routes the bus took, but which buses took which routes at which times. So we looked for that exact bus route along Thomasville Road during that time period.
Okay. So did you have to look through quite a bit of footage to get the little bits we're going to look at?
Yes, the team did.
Okay. All right. Permission to publish States 84.
You may.
Oh, shit. I gotta
Exhibit is in the form of a
use my
list.
phone really quick. BRB.
All right. So where are we right here on the video?
This is right in front of the Circle K gas station, which is right on Thomasville Road at Capitol Circle flyover. I believe it's McClay Commerce Boulevard is that road.
All right, so if we're the bus, we're on McClay Commerce.
That's correct. And the Circle K is to the right, and right in front of us is Thomasville Road with the divider where Capitol Circle flyover starts.
And what does the blue circle indicate?
That is the vehicle of Mr. Markel.
What time are we seeing him pass that area?
That is at 10:44.
Okay, so is that consistent with going back home from the gym?
That's correct.
Okay. And this is bus, we've got a couple different buses in play here, right? This one's 505.
Correct, 505.
Okay. Proceed, please. And what does the orange circle indicate?
That is the green Prius that was in the parking lot of Premier Gym.
All right, we're still on bus 505. What does this show?
So this is on Thomasville Road heading south, just south of the I-10. This is the entrance where the hospital is to the right.
By hospital, you're talking about the new ER.
The new ER, exactly, right by I-10 Thomasville Road.
Were you able to get the tag number from this image from the bus?
No, unfortunately, we weren't. The resolution on these cameras are set really low because they're saved on DVRs, and they don't want to roll over too fast. So they set the resolution extremely low, and we were not able to pull anything out of that.
Where is Professor Markel's vehicle at this point?
It is past the red light. It's already made it through the red light. Still heading south on Thomasville Road.
And that's almost 10:48 a.m. Is that time correct at the bottom there?
Correct.
Okay, and now we're at 10:51 p.m. I'm sorry, a.m. Still bus 505. What will you pause it, please? What does the orange circle indicate here? Where are we and what does the circle indicate?
We're still southbound on Thomasville Road. This intersection is Benton Road, which is where Winter Park is. Benton Road is where the cars are stopped at. And the left-hand turn lane on the far left side of the screen is the green Prius waiting to turn left on the Benton Road.
And is that a route to get to Professor Markel's residence on Trescott?
That's correct.
All right, and that's 10:51 a.m.?
Correct.
Okay.
Should I just pay for my luggage now?
All right, now have we gone to a different bus?
Yes, this is bus 707.
And what are we looking at on bus 707?
So this is northbound on Thomasville Road at Hermitage. This is at 10:55 a.m. And there's two lanes there. They're in the right-hand lane. The bus is in the right-hand lane, but the camera's on the outside of the bus looking backwards. So you'll see oncoming traffic coming behind the bus.
And what do we see here?
We see the green Prius pulling up next to the bus.
So this is 10:55. We last saw him at 10:51. Does that narrow our murder window down to that 4 minutes?
That's correct. This is north of where the victim was, and this is coming from the victim's house.
I think we prepared a second clip. If you just let it play through of that in slow motion, tell us what we're supposed to be looking for in this clip.
So you can see inside the vehicle, even though it has tinted windows, you can see the driver is wearing dark clothes, but the passenger appears to have a long sleeve white shirt on, and he's very animated in the passenger seat. You can also see some distinctive features of the car.
Okay, I think we've got this highlighted here in a moment. What are these distinctive features? Will you pause it, please?
So the first one in the lower right-hand corner is what's called a tow hook cover. Vehicles in the bumper have, some vehicles have a little plate in there that you can remove. It has a metal hook inside of it, so a tow truck can hook to that metal hook and pull the car if it needs to. This particular vehicle is missing its tow hook cover. You can see there's a hole in the front bumper, so it's been removed and not been replaced. Also on the front windshield is a sun pass. It was affixed to the windshield. And then on the far left side of the screen is the black rear view mirror of the vehicle. Toyota Priuses made in those years had matching mirrors. The mirrors were painted with the car, same color of the car. And you can see in the video that the driver's side mirror was still painted, but the passenger side mirror was black, indicating it had been damaged and been replaced by an aftermarket mirror.
Okay. And what is a sun pass transponder?
Sun pass transponders are used primarily in South Florida, especially back then. We didn't really have any sun pass toll booths up here, but they're used to pay for tolls going on toll roads, and where you don't have to stop and pay cash on the toll booths. You can pay for it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You can pay for it in advance, assign it to your car, create an account, and affix it to your vehicle, so you don't have to stop going through toll booths.
When you observed that it appeared there was a sun pass transponder on this vehicle back at this time, when did you obtain this video? Do you know?
This was back in 2014.
Okay. Did it signify to you this vehicle may have come from South Florida?
That's correct.
What efforts were made to follow up on the sun pass?
So we ended working with an investigator with Florida Department of Transportation who maintains Florida SunPass, so gave them subpoenas, and we ended up thinking the best route for somebody to go through South Florida, the SunPass, would be Orlando. We obtained video in Orlando to try to see if that green Prius passed through any of the toll booths there. We also obtained a list of all green Priuses in that year range that had a registered SunPass to it.
How many of those were there?
Thousands.
All right, let's let this exhibit finish. Our view here, can you explain what this is?
This is the same bus as the light turned green at Hermitage going north on Thomasville, and this is the green Prius passing the bus.
So as far as pulling the needle out of the haystack, I mean, it's one Prius. It didn't work as from the SunPass alone.
No, not from SunPass alone.
All right. Was any work done to try to zero in on some cell phone analysis around the locations where we know the suspect Prius was that day?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And was Sergeant Corbett the person responsible for working on the cell phone analysis?
He was.
Including looking for any phones of interest traveling in those areas that might have been following Dan Markel?
That's correct.
All right. And based on the analysis that we're going to hear from Sergeant Corbett, did you develop an idea of the route that the suspects may have taken?
We did.
I know you said you had already tried the SunPass booths in Orlando, which is one potential route to South Florida.
That's correct.
Okay. What did the phone evidence lead you to look at instead of that route?
We were able to obtain those phone records that showed the vehicle traveled down 75 and did not go through Orlando. Took I-10 to 75 all the way down, actually on the way up also, but on the way down 75 through Tampa, through Naples, then across Alligator Alley on 75 to Miami.
Alligator Alley.
All right. So sort of not the expected route.
Correct. It's a longer route than going through the turnpike down through Orlando.
Okay. And you already suspected the vehicle was headed south, I guess, based on just existence of the SunPass transponder.
Correct.
Okay. And that's sort of corroborated by these phone records.
Correct.
All right. So now that you learned that the vehicle traveled this other route through Alligator Alley, did you find any place where the SunPass transponder went through? I guess there are some toll booths that you have to go through if you go that route as well, right?
That's correct.
Where are those located?
They're basically on Alligator Alley. There's one going going westbound on the east side in Broward County. When you leave Miami going across Alligator Alley, there's one there going if you're traveling westbound. And then on the way back, there was one going eastbound just outside of Naples.
And were you able to
Thanks
find
for your
a Prius
patience,
going
guys.
through those SunPasses that might have been our Prius?
Yes, we were.
How were you able to do that? What did you ask for?
We asked for particular times. We knew about what times they went through the toll booths. We asked for any green Priuses around those times that had activated the SunPass.
And how many green Priuses traveled through the SunPass booths, both going and coming at in the same time windows you were looking for?
Just one.
All right. And from that, were you able to identify a particular SunPass transponder that we were looking for the suspect vehicle?
We were.
How'd you do that?
We went back to went to Florida Department of Transportation and asked for that particular details of that transponder. They gave us a subscriber for that particular one.
And who was the subscriber?
It was a company called Hybrid Auto Rental, also called Save Gas, and it's down Biscayne Boulevard in North Miami.
All right. Did you go there?
I did.
All right. What did you learn about the suspect vehicle from Save Gas?
By the time we got there, he'd already sold the vehicle. It was over a year later, but it was rented by Luis Rivera. He provided us with the basically receipt, the contract where it was rented during that time period.
So from the paperwork that you got from Save Gas, you learned you got a rental contract that showed who rented the vehicle?
That's correct.
Okay. And also any information about the vehicle itself, like a VIN or a tag number?
Yes, correct. They gave all the information on the vehicle too.
What is this place, Save Gas, like? Is that like a enterprise or something else?
No, it's a small, locally owned, individually owned car rental place that kind of buys, sells, rents them out.
All right. This time I've asked to introduce the rental agreement, states 58.
Any objection?
Okay.
States 58 is admitted.
So if you can kind of walk us through on that. All right. Walk us through this information that's in the renter's information block.
Yes, at the top left, it's renter information is Luis Rivera. Has his address that matches his driver's license address. And it has a telephone number down below that.
This one over here.
Correct.
And what is this? information up here also of interest to law enforcement?
It was. That number that has brother next to it, that was one of the numbers that numbers of interest that gave us the pattern going down to South Florida.
Was this number associated with a person initially?
It was.
Who's that person?
Sigfredo Garcia.
And we've got some other information on here about when the vehicle was rented. Were you able to deduce from this when the vehicle was used back?
Yes, it was supposed to be back. I believe that's towards the bottom, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the date it was rented was 7:15 at 6:15 p.m. and it was due back on 7/17.
So July 15th of 2014?
Correct. 2014.
That's when it was rented.
Correct.
And it was supposed to be back July 17th?
Correct.
And did it get returned on time?
No, it did not.
All right. Is there anything on that document in reference to the extension of time?
Yes, down at the bottom, it also shows that from 7/18 through 7/20, it says, I believe 965 paid cash, and then 7/20 to 7/21, so it shows a $55 balance and some other numbers where they ended up having to pay it, and some other notes about paying cash out of the deposit.
I've been to Alligator Alley before.
All right. And you said that the phone number listed on top there with the word brother turned out to be Sigfredo Garcia's phone number. How do we know that's his phone number?
It was listed one time on a Facebook page that was associated with him, and also listed on a pawn receipt where he pawned some, I believe it was some jewelry, and used his fingerprint on that, had to place his fingerprint on the pawn receipt when he did it, and listed that phone number as his.
Okay, I'm going to publish what's been introduced as states. I'm going to show you state 59 first and ask you if you recognize states 59.
I do.
How do you recognize it?
I recognize it as a exhibit that lists the subjects in this investigation.
And is the information contained on the exhibit fair and accurate?
Yes.
Judge, I've asked to introduce states 59.
Any objection?
Okay.
State 59 is admitted.
All right, so you were saying there was a Facebook post or a Facebook account linked to this phone number with a photograph of Sigfredo Garcia as the owner of the account?
Correct. It was labeled Tudo Day, but it was a picture of Sigfredo
All right.
Garcia.
And throughout the course of your investigation, have you come to know Tudo Dade or Tudo as a nickname for Sigfredo Garcia?
That's correct.
And does anybody else on this States Exhibit 59 have a nickname?
Yes.
Who is that?
Luis Rivera is also known as Tato.
And were you able to subpoena phone records for all the people shown on this States Exhibit 59?
We were.
All right. And establish phone numbers for the phone numbers they were all using at the time of the homicide?
That's correct.
Did you conduct any investigation into Catherine Magbanua and her employment status around the time of this homicide?
We did.
All right, what did you learn about her employment status?
At the time of the homicide, she was shortly after the homicide, I believe about 2 months after the homicide, she became employed with the Adelson Institute.
Okay, but at the actual time of the homicide, anything other than maybe odd jobs?
Right. Just odd jobs and maybe some bartending work.
All right, what is the Adelson Institute?
It's a family-owned dentist practice in South Florida.
All right, and did you go to the Adelson Institute?
I did.
Did you attempt to subpoena employment records for Catherine Magbanua at that business?
Yes, I did.
All right, tell us about that.
Myself and Investigator Isom approached the business with a subpoena. Went in, spoke with the lady at the front desk, told her we had a subpoena for records for Catherine Magbanua. Made some inquiries about her employment there, and they continued to bring somebody else up and talk to us about it, and then went back in the back and made a phone call.
They were like,
Catherine Magbanua was not physically present there.
She was not.
Was she still receiving checks at the time that you went in there?
Yes, I believe she was.
Okay. And did the employee seem to know what she did there?
No, not at all.
All right. Were you eventually provided with some documentation from that business?
Later on, yes.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as state 60.
Yes.
You recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is state 60?
It's a list of checks that were issued to Catherine Magbanua.
And is this exhibit the complete information that you were provided by the Adelson Institute in response to your subpoena for the entire employee file of Catherine Magbanua?
Yes, this is it. This is all they provided.
All right. And you mentioned a list of checks. Was there anything in here that we're getting that feedback? IT, if you're listening, we need feedback support. Any indication of what her job was there?
No.
Any indication of like her schedule?
No.
Timesheets?
Nothing.
An employment application?
Nope.
W-2?
Still nothing.
Tax forms?
No.
Asked and answered.
Business evaluations or anything like that?
Nothing.
And over what period was she being according to the records that were provided to you?
I believe it started in September of 14 and went through early 2016, maybe.
March 31st of 16?
That's correct.
And so those payments began about 2 months after the homicide?
Correct.
Jeez Louise.
And did you notice in the records that were provided that some of the check numbers were consecutive, meaning consecutive numbers?
Yes, we did.
Did you ever get any evidence that Ms. McBanwell was physically going to the Adelson Institute to perform any kind of duties there?
No, we never obtained any evidence to show that at all.
All right, and there was some surveillance at some time being performed of her person, right?
That's correct.
Can you tell us about that? What time frame was she being monitored?
We started monitoring her in late 2015, probably November. Basically, electronic surveillance on her residence. Plus, we're monitoring her phone, location services on her phone historically and prospectively too.
And how long was that the case? How long was she being monitored? What period of time?
Electronic video surveillance was from November of 15 until she no longer lived at that apartment.
Perfect.
Through any of those means that you described, were you able to deduce what it was she was doing for the Adelson Institute in person or remotely?
No, not at all.
All right, and we heard in opening that there was a wiretap in this case. Anything on the wiretap that indicated what she was doing?
That's piercing to the ear. And you know what? I kind of, before we close up for the night, I would like to listen to Wendy. If that's okay with you guys. That's what I think I want to do. The Adelson Institute is just the dentist office. It's just a fancy schmancy name. Okay.
Everyone can be seated. State, please call your next witness.
Wendy Adelson.
Please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth? You may be seated.
I just Googled to see if
Ma'am, please say and spell your name.
he was out on bond and he wasn't.
Wendy-Adelson.
Where are you from, Ms. Adelson?
I'm originally from Coral Springs, Florida.
And where do you live now?
I currently live in Miami.
How are you employed?
Now kind of part-time. I do asylum work and I fundraise for nonprofit organizations. By training.
Okay. How long have you been a member of the Florida Bar?
Since
Wonder
I
if she's
graduated
busy right
from the
now.
bar in 2006.
And are you here today pursuant to a subpoena?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that subpoena confers use and derivative use immunity to you. So nothing you say can be used against you in the future.
That is correct.
Okay. That doesn't mean you have full immunity from prosecution, but nothing you say here and nothing derived from it could be used in that prosecution. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Did you know Daniel Markel?
Yes.
How did you know him?
We were married.
When did you meet Mr. Markel?
We met in the fall of my second year of law school, so fall of 2004.
And where did you meet?
We met in Washington, D.C. He was working there, and I was looking into a summer job in Washington.
When did you get married?
In February of 2006.
And when did you live here in Tallahassee?
We lived in Tallahassee my third year of law school, so from August of 2005 until I think around maybe May or June of 2006. And then we moved to Miami for a year because Danny was interested in working at the University of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He did not get the job at University of Miami, and so we moved back here in 2007 and lived here until 2014.
Where were the two of you employed during the time you lived here in Tallahassee?
I was employed at the FSU Center for Human Rights, and Danny was employed at FSU Law School.
Were you both professors at FSU College of Law?
Yes.
And were you living on Trescott Drive at that time?
When we were married, we lived, I think we rented a house before that, but at some point, maybe in 2008, we moved to Trescott Drive.
And is that the home that he was still living in at the time that he was killed?
That is correct.
Okay, and you were no longer living there, is that correct?
I was no longer living there.
All right, at the time he was killed, you two had children together, yes?
Yes.
And how many children did you have?
We have 2 children.
And what are their ages now?
They are 13 and 14.
What about at the time of their dad's death?
At the time of their dad's death, they were 4 and 3.
When did you separate from Professor Markel?
In the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was my decision.
And was part of the reason for the separation the two of you having differing views on how to raise your kids as far as within the Jewish faith?
I mean, it was a small part, but it was part of it.
Okay, that seemed to be something that came up a lot in your communication, so that's why I asked about it. What was the difference of opinion on that?
I mean, when we first met and started dating, Danny wasn't as observant or as religious as he became over time. And so the difference in our perspective on raising kids was about dietary choices and attendance at synagogue, things like that.
So in general, he wanted to raise the children more strictly in terms of the faith than you.
That is correct.
Did you move out of the marital home while Mr. Markel was away on a business trip?
I did, yes.
All right. And did he know that you were moving out when he left for the business trip?
No, he did not.
Where did you go when you left the marital home?
I rented a home in Tallahassee.
Where was that? Do you remember the address?
Aqua Ridge Way.
3303, sound right?
That's right.
Okay. And what was the custody arrangement once you moved out of the marital home?
I mean, in the beginning, until we had a formal custody arrangement, we were just finding ways to share custody. I remember that first weekend his parents came, so I made sure he had the children all weekend while his parents were visiting from Canada. But eventually we had a 50-50 shared custody arrangement.
All right. And do you remember exactly what that looked like? Was it week on, week off, or something more complicated?
It was something more complicated. In the summertime, it was week on, week off. During the weeks, it was I think what they called like a 2-2 split, with Wednesday night being an overnight and then the weekends being every other weekend.
All right, but roughly 50-50.
50-50, but that was the split.
Okay. And I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 56. Now you've had a chance to take a look at this before, but you'll just kind of go through it and tell me if you recognize it.
Sure.
Do you recognize the exhibit?
I do.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of your divorce file?
It looks like it, yes.
All right. And is it fair to say this was a contentious litigation process that you had with your ex?
It was.
And I want to ask you about a specific filing in there. It's begins on page 43, and it's in reference to a filing on January 14th of 2013 where you were looking to relocate with the minor children. Do you recall that particular filing?
I recall the filing. You said 43. I'm not sure okay.
Yes, ma'am. On the bottom, there should be page numbers for you.
Yes. Yes, I recognize it.
Okay, and that's the filing in reference to your motion for relocation?
Yes.
Okay, and did you file this motion with the intent to not be successful?
I'm sorry, I
It's
don't
been
understand.
suggested that you never thought that was going to be successful, did you?
I thought there was a small chance that it would be successful, but not very likely, no.
Okay, and weren't you thinking, well, maybe Danny would be happy working somewhere else because he's mentioned applying elsewhere, so maybe he'll allow the relocation? Were you
Well,
thinking
he and
that?
I talked about the relocation. So when we talked about it, he thought, well, if I can live nearby in Miami, that might work. And then I could commute to FSU. I didn't mean for him to leave FSU, but he wanted to leave FSU at some point. So that was just a matter of time.
So you thought it might be successful?
Sure. I mean, I thought it was possible, but not likely.
All right, and page 46 of that document, paragraph E references the job offer. The wife also desires to relocate to South Florida in order to provide a better quality of life for the children by increasing their access to close family and providing more stability and consistency. Who is the close family in South Florida?
The close family would have been my mom and my dad and my brother.
And which brother is that?
My brother that's here today.
Charlie Adelson?
That's correct.
Okay. What's your mom's name?
My mom's name is Donna.
Donna Adelson?
Yes, that's her name.
What about your dad?
My dad's name is Harvey.
And where did Donna and Harvey live back in the time frame between 2012 and 2016?
They lived at the home I grew up in Coral Springs.
And how far do they live away from you currently as we sit here today?
Currently, depends on Miami traffic, but anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour.
Right. And what kind of a relationship do you have with your parents?
Hey, Healing Through Energy. I am a abundant supporter of the First Amendment, and I encourage people to speak their minds, but if we could please stay on topic, because that's the second time you've said something for which no one has responded. There's a reason for that. My followers are very respectful of other people's opinions, but we respectfully ask each other to please stay on topic. So I'd ask that you please follow that. Thanks.
As we sit here today.
I have a good relationship with my parents.
And has that always been the case?
I would say so.
Can you describe the relationship that your mom has with your boys?
I think it's very loving. I think she's a very dedicated grandmother.
She spends a lot of time with them, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
And when they were little, and
I
you
don't
first
think
moved
so
there
after
Danny's
this.
death, how much time was she spending with them?
When I moved there after Danny's death in 2014.
How much time was your mom spending with the boys?
I mean, we were all living together at that point. So we were spending every day together.
How were your parents employed? Are they retired now?
They're retired now.
What are they retired from?
My dad was a dentist, and my mom used to coordinate, kind of be like an office administrator at his practice.
Did she write the checks at the practice? Paychecks?
Yes. Mhm. She handled all the bookkeeping.
What was the name of the practice?
The name changed over the years, but probably the name when they retired was the Adelson Institute.
And were your parents wealthy at the time that your husband was murdered?
I mean, my parents worked their whole lives to support us, right? So I think the business did well for a period of time.
About $2 million in profit each year between 2013 and 2016, sound
They
right?
never talked to me about money, so I have no idea how much the business made at any given point.
Did you discuss your marital problems with your mom at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay. What about the resulting legal issues? Was your mom read in on those things?
I mean, I definitely updated her about the results of the relocation when that petition got denied, but not kind of the ins and outs of every part of our divorce.
What about your dad? Was he invested in your divorce status?
I think the same as my mom, just worried about me and worried about the boys.
What about your brother? Did he take an interest in the ins and outs of your divorce?
No, not really.
Did he need to protect you from Dan Markel?
No, I mean, I don't think I need protection.
Were you physically in danger from Dan Markel?
No, I wasn't in danger.
Did the litigation revolving around the divorce and the subsequent issues that arose, did that impact your family back in South Florida?
I mean, only to the extent that I think they felt bad for what I was going through, but.
Oh,
I want to show
you're
you
probably
the
right,
exhibit that I
Mitchell.
marked as State's Exhibit 59. Sorry, 57, Your Honor. You've seen this one before as well. Does that look familiar?
I don't remember it, to be honest. It's from 10 years ago.
Take a moment to look through it.
Sure.
When you're done, I'll let opposing counsel take a look at it, but go ahead and let us know when you're done reviewing it.
All right, guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to wait for them to stop barking and then I'll explain the plan. Okay, so what I was going to tell you guys is that Frank's home and it is officially time to celebrate Bixie's birthday. So we are going to stop here for the day. And sorry for the barking in the background. I will pick up on Tuesday. Hold on. Okay. I will see you guys on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. We will go over the Georgia v. Faust trial that's going on. We have been following that sparingly, picking out the highlights per usual, but they had a short day today, so I wanted to get in our next trial that we will be covering, which is the Adelson trial, because he's back in the news asking judges for another trial. So thank you so much for being here. I have you guys redirected for a stream that is going to be taking place later this evening. I hope to see you there and have a lovely rest of the weekend. All right, guys. See you tonight on Friday Night Live. Bye.